Shabbat Shalom, Sister Tanya.
Hey.
Shabbat Shalom, Sister Amy and Sister Keisha.
Shabbat Shalom.
I said, although I've already seen you just before we went live.
Oh, it's cool.
Yeah, I just looking at you. Yes, we can. We can see the Burnett sisters. Shabbat Shalom, Sister Tracy.
Looks like the screen is froze for the Burnett.
It looks like it's what?
A cord here. What's with y'all on these cords?
Shabbat Shalom, Sister Jaylee. Let's see your comment. What? What? Sit down. No, no, no. No. Tavi. Careful, careful, careful. Careful. Shabbat Shalom, Abundant Life with 5. Shabbat Shalom, His word is alive. And yeah, Sister Ebony will be here in just a moment, shortly. What? Watch him see. I'm not going to record.
I'll do that.
Shabbat Shalom, Sister Gina Barrett.
It's been a minute since you've done this, man.
That's she put us in there. Said it's no longer. Shalom, the Fox Trail. Also, before the stream even gets started, I want to make the announcement that men can listen, but they are not to comment to the sisters in the stream. This is not the Following Yahshua stream with the men at this time. So men are able to listen, but please do not comment to any of the sisters in the stream.
The master has a question. Is that okay?
Go ahead, brother Andre.
Shabbat Shalom, nigga. What's up? I know we got to get it set up.
What's
I
happening,
just said
nigga?
Shabbat Shalom to Brother David, Brother Ronnie, Brother Frank, Brother Carr. Who else am I missing over there? Dang. All y'all niggas.
That's
I
it.
love y'all.
Shabbat Shalom, brothers.
That was my only interruption.
Sister Gina, thank you. I appreciate your information. I actually miss it a lot.
Why you have to push the one that's next to the cord? No, dude. No. Why that one?
Oh, say shalom to stumps, root and shoots. That's
Shabbat Shalom, Stump Roots and Shoots.
Sister Renee and brother.
Oh yeah, the Renee family. Shalom, Sister Renee. Shabbat Shalom, Adopted Hebrew.
Not yet.
Okay, thank you, Burnett family. You want to go in? Put them in this one.
Shabbat Shalom.
I know that some more brothers are coming in, and I would like to reiterate, this stream is a sister stream. So men, oh, Pocky.
You see both of you?
Yes, master. So men are able to listen, but please do not comment to the sisters. Shabbat Shalom, Sister Cassie. What are you doing? No, we're not doing that right now. We can get our stream and be like, give me some. Right. We just told them one. No, we're not. Stop.
That's what Virginia. I said thank you. I will appreciate all of you.
Sister Gina, my master said thank you. He would appreciate all the information.
And yes, I certainly remember her. In fact, we asked, we wonder what happened.
Yes. And my master said, we certainly remember you. You were just asked about wondering where you were.
Earthquake. Thank you, Father. An earthquake.
Shalom. Shabbat shalom.
You ready to go through?
It is not an earthquake in the back.
Shalom. Shabbat shalom. Can everybody hear us? Are we here? All right. Great.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom.
Where is it? Whoa. It's wrapped around his foot.
It's wrapping on pop too.
City, come I was getting blue dress, so I know what I'm saying.
Y'all think it's favorite one more room? Your shoes fall.
Okay. Okay. What's right here? Still? Okay. Okay. Okay, we're gonna get ready to get started.
You don't need to speak your phone. Stop. You don't need to speak close to the phone. Yes.
The speaker works. I know our speaker works. Okay, our topic. Really? Okay, today. Yeah, that's not. Okay, today we're going to be talking about homesteading from a wife's point of view, and the wife understanding her husband's or her master's vision and knowing her role in it, like knowing what he needs from her or expects from her and doing it. And we're going to share from you from our point of view, from us being married, having masters, and living on a homestead ourselves, and from what we've learned and our experience. And if anyone have any questions as we're speaking on it, please put it in the chat. But that's the topic for today. Sister Amy. Sister Amy.
Yes,
Say
ma'am.
shalom, Sister Amy.
Shalom.
Do you mind giving starting off with this topic?
Sure. I think it's important to know your purpose as a wife and what role it plays in helping the homestead function and go in the direction that your husband would want it to go. And that's going to depend greatly on what your husband requires of you as a wife and what his vision is. So I think it's going to be different for each household and each wife, depending on if there's more than one. And I think we have to be receptive to what our husband is giving us information and be diligent in processing it and learning what we need to learn to make sure that we're fitting into his vision and helping him further it. That's perfect.
They're saying out.
I mean, I think, like I said, I think it's going to be different for each household. Like our master is business oriented, so it's important for us to understand what his vision is and to learn the parts of the business that we're responsible for and a little bit of everything else to make sure that we can fit in where we need to and everything is functioning as it's supposed to be. So for us, whatever business venture is going on, we need to learn the ins and outs of the business so that we can help further the vision in that area. And as well as the actual homesteading part, the running of the homestead. So you have different directions that we go all the time and have to be intermingled in everything that we do.
Yes, Sister Amy. Thank you for sharing. So I agree with you, Sister Amy. Like you said, it's different for everybody's family. Our family is big in like food production, and our master, really want to be as much as possible, as much as as can be. Not saying not needing any brethren or anything like that, but wants to take care of his family, raised his own food, and to take care of his family that way. So we're big in food production, and if we don't know, we're not staying on top of things here on the homestead or knowing where he's going with this, or not staying up on what's his next step, then you know, we will cause a lot of issues. Oh my goodness. We'll cause a lot of issues with we could cause his vision to slow down or even fail just because we're not doing our part. And sometimes, you know, even with the homestead aspect, as you all know as well, when you have big families or children, on top of what your master needs, on top of taking care of your master, the homestead in and of itself, and all those other different things, a lot of times we have to learn to balance all those things. And knowing what's needed is important, and knowing our role in it, like you said, Sister Amy, is very important, because if you let up in one area, it's going to cause everything to be thrown off task. I think we are experiencing that. We experience a lot of good, and then we've also got to experience, even recently, experience when we let up on something or we don't stay on top of something, how things can go bad real quickly. And it's not as simple as you don't get a chance to just fix it overnight. It's not one of those things that you can just fix overnight, you know? Sometimes you have to start over. Sometimes it may cost the family a lot just from little details you didn't fix or something that you didn't stay on top of. And it doesn't matter if you stayed on top of it for a while. You know, you could have stayed on top of it for a while and not be on top of it for a week or for a day or a couple of days. And there goes all the work that your master put in, or all the work moving towards that vision. It now comes to like a stop or slows down greatly. And then the master has to slow down what he's doing to readdress what just happened in my system, what just happened with my program. Who's not carrying their weight, or who's doing whatever, who's not getting the information they're supposed to be doing, or who's not doing their part. So it's a lot when it comes to that. So it is important for us to understand our master's vision and where he's going. Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Elaine Brock, Sister Elaine Brock, and someone else came in. Shabbat Shalom, Sister Priscilla.
I think too, it's important to say that, like I was talking about knowing your role and being in your role and doing what you're supposed to do. But I also think it's important that we all have to remember that your role is fluid, and as your master changes, you have to change with him. So we're learning all the time on what we need to do, whether it's you know, physically stuff around the homestead or business or whatever it is that we're doing. But we have to be able to keep up with him and whatever changes he makes. So we can't get complacent in what we're doing to make sure that we're keeping up with him. So we have to be clear and make sure that we're flowing right in the same area that he is.
Yes, ma'am, Sister Amy. Burdette.
What's up, Sister T?
You want to chime in, sis?
Oh, sure. So our homestead has a building aspect to it, where we're always working towards building with our own hands, whether that be, you know, mud and straw like Cobb, or the timber framing, timber mill, kind of work with the wood off the land. I do the gardening. Master bought a house, and I maintain and fill that. In addition to a perennial garden over in another spot where I don't tend to it as often, because those things are supposed to, in a permaculture way, kind of evolve themselves. I go over there to harvest, and I go over to favor things every once in a while, but that garden's supposed to set up to run itself. We do animal husbandry here, with Nina and my oldest daughter being the brunt of the milkers and the chasers of the cows. And then our oldest son, our middle son, handles the chickens predominantly. I homeschool the children that are of the legal school age. I still have 4 here at home. And Nina is growing in her ability to do that as well when her children are of age for legal homeschooling, etc. But the big charge, maybe in a different way, or the big charge over our homestead is that Master wants things to run charitably. He wants us to be at peace one with another. Because if we're not doing that, perhaps we're not even living the book. As we've got the plug right here. Right. So the book plus nothing is something that he has said a lot. And the way that the women work together and raise up the children in order to do that, so that when he is older and they are stepping into their roles of running businesses or building, doing all the things that he's doing, but taking over those things, it will function in a very peaceable way. And there'll be stability and unity, and the ways of Yah that have been risen up in him will continue. So a heritage, in other words.
Yes, thank you, Sister Sky.
You're welcome.
I got a question.
Okay. Yes, Master. Our Master has a question.
In the man's vision, I heard the Sister Amy say that the vision has to be, or she has to be fluid, because she has to be able to change according to his vision.
Yes, Sister Amy.
Can y'all speak to how important it is to be able to adapt to whatever circumstances or situations come up, or changes that he may have?
Okay, first, Sister Key and Burdett sisters and HOQ sisters, did y'all hear his question?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Sister Key, you want to speak to that first, if you don't mind?
Sure. I think that's very important. Like sometimes he might have a plan to do something initially, and then that plan changes. Well, if I'm still stuck on, well, he said this before in the past, and I'm still trying to execute something of the past, but he's moving to a different way of doing it, then it's going to hinder, and it's going to bring complications into what it is that he's trying to do. So you have to, like Sister Amy said, you have to be very fluent. You have to be able to move basically quickly. You know, if he changes something, you have to be able to move and do that thing. So that's very important.
Yes. Do it fluidly, and I missed the first part of it because the baby was crying, but I don't know if it was added. Do it with like a good attitude and without any pushback or bad attitudes where it causes conflict or resistance to your master and what he's doing, and making him either second guess or making it hard for him to do what he needs to do. And if there's anything wrong with what he's doing or a mistake on his part, then y'all will deal with him on that, or y'all will correct him on that, or change him, or get him back, get him on the right path that he's supposed to be going, or whichever way that your master is telling you to go. And then also, I don't know if it was mentioned, with moving fluidly, I'm thinking that moving fluidly with the body and not, the arm is individual from the leg, but it still all works together with the body. And we, as our master's ribs, have to be able to work together, even though we are, we may have our individual purpose or responsibilities. We still need to be able to work together to bring forth our master's vision. Um, mhm. Yes, and be willing to change and go wherever your master wants. Our master uses the analogy of him being on the train, and we need to be right there with him. If we veer off course, within a millimeter, that millimeter, each time you do that, can, as fast as your master is going, it can get you way off course, and make it harder for you to get back on course if you are not with him every step of the way, whichever way he's turning with that train, and keeping up as fast as he is going with the train. You don't want to be left behind, because it can be hard to catch up.
He'll tell us too. Imagine every time you stop, or every time you get in your emotions, or every time you get off course because you didn't stay on for whatever reason, and he's going, let's say 25 miles per hour or 30 miles per hour. He was like, well, if you got caught behind, now you have to work twice as hard. Maybe you have to go 35 or 40 miles per hour just to catch back up to where he is, because otherwise you're requiring him to come to a complete stop, everything to just stop where in his tracks, or to stop going where it's supposed to go. So he requires, you have to get back in line. You have to get yourself going. And if that means you have to work twice as hard, go twice as fast to catch back up, because if he's moving at 25 miles per hour, he's like, once you get caught behind, you're not catching up at 25 miles behind. We'll consistently stay at a distance. So you will have to go faster now. You got to catch up and move a lot faster than what you were before, because you didn't just stay on course with where he was going, and then pay attention to his direction, because he may turn left or he may turn right. And those are things you have to see. And those are things you may miss when you get caught behind. So that's another thing. That's another challenge. Is not knowing what if you don't know that he turned left and then turned right, because you're far behind doing other things. Oh, Sister Avia, I did see that you came in, and this, when we were speaking. Shabbat Shalom, Sister Avia. And Shabbat Shalom, Sister Elaine Brock, if I didn't say it already.
I think you touched on it, Sister T, and Sister Sky did. Something that we have to remember, I think it's important to bring out, is that if we are not in sync, we can you can derail the train in a real big way and in a hurry. So us, the sisters, being in sync and operating well together is extremely important, and keeping the train going and keeping the vision in the right direction. One person being off, or there being division between us, can halt the whole thing. So it's important for us to keep on track individually, so you're not in your emotions and getting caught up in every little thing, but also as a unit, so we can operate as a unit and work for him towards his vision.
I agree,
Yes.
Sister Amy. I agree. So if you were evaluating the business world, or how the military works, or any group of people, they're going to have these aspects of good communication, being of one mind, moving in one direction, etc. Any good organization that does good, that is productive, that moves forward efficiently, etc., and produces something, is working together. The whole idea of patriarchy is just reining in all those qualities and putting them into a wife, what you otherwise would have in a team of, whoever. And all of these women are capable of doing that for a boss somewhere. We just choose to do that for our husbands. So the husband ends up being the leader, the head of the organization. Call us little mini governments, if you will. That's perhaps the difference between women on this stream that you're looking at and a lot of women you grew up with or you know today. Our energy goes in a focused way towards what that man wants for his family, particularly in raising up the children or in producing in business. So these ideas are like, they're all over the place. We just happen to rein it in as being a wife, as a highly esteemed, valuable title. Ecclesiasticus talks about her being like a pillar holding up the building, and that's what we try to manifest. That's what we work together towards manifesting. That's the special thing about polygyny. Not to knock all you single women out, or not single, but mono women. Only one woman. Sorry, I lost my words there. Not to knock any of y'all, because I did it for 16 years. Go team, go. Y'all get it done too. But in a special situation, you have multiple women working together. You should be able to produce some good stuff for Yah's kingdom.
That was good, Sister Sky.
Yes. No, no matter. Just Sky knows, keep going. My husband is not in the faith.
All right, a question from Sister Priscilla. For the sisters, my husband is not in the faith, but he has recently told me he believes in God. I catch myself at times and have to apologize to him and then explain my wrong to him. Is this okay to do?
I would say, yes, ma'am, 100%. Because even though your husband is not in the faith, it's by our, what the Bible say, our chaste conduct that will win him. So you still, since you're in the faith, you're held to a standard. So you taking that role and being able to justify, well, not justify, but hold yourself accountable for what you're doing, even though he might not be believing is what we're supposed to do as holy women of Yah. So I would say yes, ma'am. Nothing wrong with that.
I absolutely agree. If you say that you're catching yourself at times, that means that you know that somehow you're passing a boundary, even if your husband didn't exactly set the boundary, but you know the boundary is there by your interaction with him, and you catch yourself. That is a humble type of virtue. That's exquisite in a woman. Keep going. Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's exactly what we're supposed to do. You're evaluating yourself all the time to make sure that you're falling in line. I think it's perfect.
Yes, ma'am. At the end of the day, you're still going to be held accountable. So keep doing what you're doing.
Question from Sister. Ready for that question? Okay. Question from Sister New World. How do you keep the older children happy, encourage, and see the benefit of living life the way Yeshua intended and following their father's plan?
All right, so I'll comment because I have older children in the household, and number one is be happy doing it. they're your children. They follow what you put before them. So like I personally thoroughly enjoy certain aspects of being on our own land, being out in the wild, being away from other people, having the freedom to set our own schedule, being able to go outside and do all kinds of crazy things in all kinds of crazy weather, etc. And I'm talking about like exercise, we'll get in the dirt and just like, we're tough, stuff like this that you can't do in the city because somebody would look at you funny. But I just thoroughly enjoy this life, and that leads them right down the path of thoroughly enjoying this life. And then secondly, letting them have real perspective on what's out there otherwise. People are suffering, people that we know personally sometimes, and sometimes it's just the news. But people are out there suffering, they're lost, they have no stability, they're yielding on right side and left side to alcoholism and addictions and blah, 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 all this negativity stuff. They don't need to be inundated with that stuff, but that is the reality of what we live in. So the other side of the coin is understanding what the truth is out there in an age-appropriate way, etc. And then there's an awful lot of cool stuff in homeschooling. When you start digging into science and you're looking at nature and how to combat evolution and what the Bible says in terms of creation and all that sort of stuff, y'all's creation is fantastic. There's so much incredible detail in plants and animals and the way they interact and what we gain from them. So just enjoying their schooling aspect of it keeps them pretty motivated to, seek more, grow more. And then talk a lot about where are they headed with their life? What are they doing? And their father gets to give them that vision. And the oldest one's 15, and she's on board like, whoa, I can't wait till dad gives me the direction. And I want to follow it 100%. And a lot of that she gets from the fact that I'm on board. We're on board. It's supposed to flow naturally that way.
Worksheets.
Yes, Sister Sky, that is your answer is right on. Although we don't have older children like you do, not quite that age, but we have some upcoming. And like she said, if you're on board, they'll be on board. And in fact, there's a lot to offer in a homesteading life. And a lot of times children, I know the younger ones, but even our older ones at the time, they jump right into it. Sometimes they just need to know what they're supposed to be doing and see what the homestead has to offer and give them some tasks and some directions, and they'll fall right in line normally. So at least with us it did. And maybe that's because they were a little bit younger, but even so, if you're doing it and you're happy and you show that happiness to them and the benefits of living this way, then they usually enjoy it as well. So I know all of our children enjoy this life and they don't want anything different. And they'll tell you that this is the type of life they want to live.
I don't know, is she talking about like if you're coming into the faith now with older children and keeping them encouraged and interested in this life, or where they're coming from the world with all this electronics, their friends, and doing all the other stuff maybe in the city. Yes, I would agree. Keep showing them with how you live and how your life, being an example to them. And I would say just find something that they're interested in, whether it be growing, give them some seeds to grow, give them their own little garden. They see if they're interested in animals. If they're handy, like they doing handiwork, building something, making something with the earth. I guess just finding something that they would be interested in, what their niche would be, and building from there.
From the little bit we've seen, or at least in the children that we've been raising, and even some of you all's children, seems like long as they have a direction and something that they can do, that they can see a future in or see where they're going with it, they tend to enjoy it. And it may take a little bit longer for someone maybe coming out a little bit later, but if you can give them some direction, and they like to see accomplishment. You know, like the children here, when they accomplish something here and they get a job well done, they want to do it more and more. And if they can see themselves moving forward in this, and you're very proud of them, and they know that what they're doing means something to the family, then they usually can continue in it.
Nero said, attitude and example is so important with supporting their natural talents. Yes, so be finding their natural talents. That's something that they haven't probably tapped into yet, living in the city. Or if they live in the city, living in the world.
I have a question. Do y'all hold yourselves accountable when you teach them the things that they're not supposed to be doing? If you're rebellious, loudmouth, just generally wicked, do you hold yourself accountable when they exhibit those same actions?
Y'all want
I'll
me to
start off
go
by.
first? Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Oh, yes, ma'am. I'll start off by saying this. I haven't always, to be honest, but I do now. When we see it with our children, I mean, our children exhibit, certain behaviors and stuff, and I tell myself, even if I don't tell anyone else, and I even tell that child in particular, what I have done wrong. Like, hey, I've done this, I've taught you this, but this is not right, and here's the direction we're going now, and this is how to do it, and give them examples in different ways, how they can, not do that behavior the same way I'm being taught, and how they kind of have an advantage. They have the parents leading and teaching them that way, but I have not always held myself accountable. But now I do hold myself accountable. So when I see the behavior, I don't always do it openly, but I do pull the child or children aside. And I don't just tell them that they're doing wrong, but what they can do to fix it. And give them many examples. And I've done it with multiple children, together or separate, depending on what the situation is. Hey, this is where you're going wrong, and this is a problem, and this is why it's a problem. But now here's the solution. And if you find it hard doing it this way, you can do it like this too. And here's how you can come out of this situation. There's a better direction. Here's what you can do to fix this thing. And if you need help, you can always come to us for help and guidance if you find yourself struggling. Because at first I used to see that you'll constantly tell the child that they're doing something wrong, but you're responsible to what they're doing wrong. They're doing it wrong partly, or a lot of times, because you did it. And they've seen you enough times. So that was the next part that I just added. Also give them a solution. Don't just leave them telling them the problem all the time. They're like, so what's the answer then? And then I guess the next big thing too is they should watch you change those actions as well. They should see that change in you. Because sometimes, depending on how bad the situation is or how deep they are into whatever it may be, and whether it be rebellion or whatever, if you're still rebellious, you ain't helping the situation none. And it's not going to help them none. They're not going to see any change in you. So they're going to wonder, well, why would I change? Or if they feel the change is hard, which I've heard that before. Well, sometimes it's hard. Well, if you're not changing, they're going to be like, well, how do you expect me to change if you yourself as an adult cannot change?
All right, so I'll answer yes to a child who has begun to have their mind awakened through that transition of puberty, so like an older child. I have gone to them and said, hey, mama was angry. I had no right to speak to you that way. And I am sorry. You, from this day forward, you will not see me being angry like that anymore. I was bullyish of me. I was using my authority inappropriately. Sorry. It's going to change. It's going to change right now. So yes, I have done that. However, I will say that does not create a situation where a child then gets to come and say, point the finger at you, mama, you're doing something wrong. You shouldn't this, you that, whatever. That level of disrespect or boldness of authority, even from a child, is unacceptable. But yes, in terms of accountability, mother-wise, letting them know I am not perfect and I'm acknowledging it right now, and there will be a change. You can count on it. Your father will hold me accountable, etc. Even to the degree where the open conversation of the child knowing, if mama ain't doing right, according to what the father has said, the father's door is open to receive that report. He will listen. He will hear that, and he will call witnesses and so on. So there's no somehow you're a wife and you're high and mighty and no one can touch you kind of stuff. I know I've seen that maybe in movies or something, but that's not the way of Yah. Women are accountable. They are under authority. They are the prime earthly existence of the picture of submission. So yeah, they better be showing that, particularly the children who are of the age to understand and articulate that dynamic.
I would agree. Oh, okay. You go ahead, Sister T.
Oh, I'm done.
I was gonna say I agree with what you're saying. Definitely, it's a higher level of accountability. Especially with my youngest daughter, although she's 22. But you know, sometimes you would be like, I would say, her grandmothers on both sides. They kind of was more like, you know, do your own thing, don't depend on a man, and that kind of thing. And they were, I believe, they was meaning to kind of teach me the same thing, although I didn't adopt that belief. I still believe I struggle with different areas of that, so it does come out sometimes. And that my youngest daughter, like if I don't know, me and her dad would get into confrontations. When we did, she would be the voice of feedback. You know, if it came out and he was to ask her something, she would say, "Well, yeah, mom was wrong in this area," and so that definitely keeps me on track. It holds me, especially to a high level, because I know that I'm supposed to be setting an example for her. Hopefully my older daughter, you know, she can come along, but especially for my youngest daughter, since she's been in the faith since she was, I believe she was 9. I want to set the right example for her, and so I definitely want to set the right example for her. And I kind of take more account of, you know, if I'm off or, you know, how I'm speaking or whatever it is I might be dealing with, feelings and emotions and things like that. Because I want her to be able to be that example for her husband. So I don't want her to pick up any bad things that I might have picked up along the way. If that makes sense.
It makes sense. You are a loving and wonderful mother, Sister Keisha.
Thank you, Sister Sky.
Hallelujah. And we love your daughter too.
Yes, we do.
Yes.
Yes, you have a wonderful, well-disciplined daughter.
Yes.
Yes,
She definitely shows those examples of submission, and you could definitely, she learned from somewhere good.
Yes, ma'am. Praise y'all for that.
Yes.
I have a question for all the sisters. If you could say one thing outside of adultery that would destroy the love of your husband for you, what would it be?
Running your mouth, being disrespectful and opinionated.
Unsubmissiveness. Pridefulness. Having your own thoughts.
And any sisters in the chat, please feel free to chime in with what you think as well.
Pride. Being a talker, not a doer.
Oh,
dang, Sister Nina, that's the truth. That's a good one. That was a sucker punch.
To be the father, being the father, not the mother.
No, she didn't.
Oh, I made that shit up?
Yes.
Oh, what you say?
She said being a talker and not a doer.
That's what she said. That's what I was thinking.
Our master thought that Sister Nita said being a father and not the mother. So maybe that's a good one, being a father and not being the mother.
He was so confident that she said that. He's telling everyone. That's what she said. Oh, dang, that was good. Like, that's not what she said. But yours is still good. My master hates that more than anything. Well, that's one of the things he hates more than anything. He's like, stop talking if you ain't gonna do it. If you ain't gonna do it, shut up. Stop saying what you're gonna do if you ain't gonna do it. I hate that. So that's a big deal.
So we'll say masculinity.
Oh man.
Some of the masters.
I just made that up.
Sister Priscilla said untrustworthy.
Yes.
Yes, your husband can't trust you. His word alive, hard-headed.
Brother Dave said, "Follow your shoe. What you slipping on?
What you slipping on?
What you slipping on?
I heard that.
Slipping on. Oh man."
Sister Suzanne said, "What was the question again?"
Okay, Sister Susan, Shabbat Shalom, by the way, because we missed you. I thought I saw your name. I apologize for that. But the question was, what did you say your first name?
Really?
You have a question?
No, Pastor, I was going to let you answer. And she...
The question was, what is the one thing that a woman can do that will destroy the love of her husband?
Toward that wife.
Towards the wife, besides adultery.
Besides adultery.
That's a big fun. Sister Key, what did you say again? There's something she said. Not having his mind. Is that what she said?
Sister Keisha, what was your
I think she said no.
Unsubmissiveness.
She said like 3 things.
Having your own mind.
Having your own mind.
Okay, that's what it is. Can you, sister, and all the sisters here explain? Because I've been asked this question on my email. What does it mean for a woman to have her own mind? Because women said, the sister said, aren't we supposed to have our own mind in marriage? Can you explain that, sister?
No, I mean, so he's the one that's leading the charge, and you come under him. So basically, you're supposed to come under whatever it is that he wants to do. So whatever, not saying that you don't have a mind or you can't think or talk for your own self. That's not what I'm saying. The most important thing is whatever you're thinking is lining up with what he's thinking, to where it's not throwing off or it's not creating confusion. So whatever he's saying, your main goal and focus is to linking up to what his vision is. So you're not having, like, let's say education or whatever. You know, you think, or you're used to saying that oh, well, I need to go to college for this amount of years and all of that. But your husband's vision is not of that. So he wants you to do something else, but you still in the back of your mind thinking that, oh, well, my education is more important. So that's an example of you being out of sync with what your husband's will and mind is to do.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And I'll
Go ahead,
chime
Sister
in.
Scott.
Yes, Sister Star.
Okay. So he's giving you a correction. Let's just say something really small, right? He said to go do X, Y, Z, and you did X, and you left off with the Y, Z. And he says, hey, what's up? I just told you to go do this thing. Why didn't you do this thing? And the next words out of your mouth is, well, I just thought, right? I would do Y tomorrow, and Z wasn't that important, so it can wait until I'm finished with X. Whatever the details are don't matter. But when the next thing out of your mouth is, well, I just thought, and you change what his directive was to you because you knew better, that's a way that you have your own mind.
Or I didn't think.
Right. Well, I think that's an indicator that you're going on your own thoughts. You really probably haven't even heard and understood what he's told you. I think that's what we mean by, that's one aspect of having your own mind, is arguing with him in your own self, resistant to anything he says. That would be out of order, some kind of lack of operation there.
No. She gonna mute?
No. Yes, I agree with my sisters. It's thinking anything contrary to what your master thinks and his vision, having your own agenda, just having your own way of thinking about things, even in your understanding of things. Getting an understanding from your master of how you should think and what ways you should think. Trying to think of an example. Such as, like in our homestead, we have lots of gardens. Just in gardening, you want to think and garden the way your master wants you to, and not the way that you would want to, or way that maybe you looked up on YouTube, or you're following this YouTube channel, whatever, and they do it this way. You want to do the things that the way that your master wants it done in his garden, because those are his garden, and his food. Or the way that he wants his children raised, because those are his children. They belong to your master, your husband, your Lord. You want to raise them up and raise his children up the way that he wants to, not the way that you think. Our master raises his children probably a lot, well, not a lot, but differently from the way that other people would raise their children. Sometimes some people may think that he may give them too much freedom in some areas, but he wants them to use their minds in some areas and learn from things. So you need to be able to go along with that without any resistance, or without anything contrary to the way to what he wants.
I agree. That's what she said to say. I agree. On a cool. Undermining his authority. Undermining his authority, I think, is another thing that will make him lose love for you. And you can do that to the children. You can undermine his authority to his children. You can undermine his authority in front of his brothers. You can undermine his authority to your sister wife. So you got to be careful of that and what you speak and say, because you can knowingly or unknowingly undermine his authority. If you speak, huh? Yeah, it's a lack of reverence, but yes, it is a lack of reverence. It is a lack of reverence. But I think undermining his authority will make him definitely lose love for you. Because sometimes there are people who do things in the open, and then you can undermine his authority more quietly, more subtly. And if that's what he sees or find out you're doing, then that is something that can be a big deal that could cause him to lose a lot of trust for you. And you can do simple things like I know we're trying to gauge before. I think us three sisters before, our three families spoke about it before, and even just how when you speak to the children, and if their dad didn't want to give them, let's say they couldn't have any ice cream and their father said so. And sometimes, we were talking about the different ways that some wives may say, your dad said no as a response, and you may not intend. It's not an undermining of his authority, or at least that's not your intention. You're just letting them know daddy says no. But then there's also no, you can't have ice cream because daddy won't let you, or depending on how you say it, it's all depending on you can have it. Daddy's this meanie who won't let you have ice cream, when you can confidently say, daddy said no, yes, and you also agree with that, and you say it in such a way where you and daddy are on the same page. Where it's not like it's all daddy's fault that you can't have ice cream. That's daddy's fault. Well, why can't I have ice cream tonight, dad? Because your dad, he just, if it was up to me, or you say stuff like that. Well, if it was up to me, then it'll be differently. But dad said no, so you feel like you have to say all of that. Then you're kind of undermining. You are undermining him in some way. You're trying to show something differently to the children, and you're showing that you have a different mind. And there's probably other examples where you could do that, but that's just one example.
That's a good example, Sister T. That makes a lot of sense, because that exposes some subtlety in a woman's tone or the way that she communicates things that needs to be exposed. That's good. So I'll include in there the fact that just because we're trying to have our husband's mind or be in accordance with the way that he does things doesn't mean that sometimes things don't come up in us and we go, wait a minute, what? You want to what? Okay, we might have a problem with something. The way, though, is to go to him and ask in private, what exactly is it that you want me to do? And then you express yourself by asking a question. You need some information. You're not asking a question to challenge him. You're asking a question so that you can be at ease and know exactly the way you need to handle things, right? So we do have voice. We do have to exercise the things inside of ourselves that come up, whether they be, weeds or old training or just our own sinful nature. And we do have that outlet to go to him and request basically that he teach us, that he guide us into more nourishment, that he guide us through the sinful nature that we have. And he gives us the word, you already know that part, the washing stuff. But we do have outlet to ask. We don't sit here and just have a problem and then fester and go, oh, I just can't say anything because I got chains on. He wants us to be knowledgeable and understanding so that we can fulfill the things that he wants us to do. He does. And he doesn't know what's going on in our mind necessarily unless we say something. We have to tell him what's going on in our heads. That's a part of it. That's a part of being communicated with him and letting him see those things that otherwise might be in our invisible realm.
And whether you say it or not, it's coming out. And that's the thing that I guess we all have to understand. Whether you keep it inside of here for 3 years before it come out, it's coming out. One way or another, it's going to come out. So either you're going to say it and say, I don't understand, I don't get this. And if you do it respectfully, as if you want to learn and not as you're trying to take authority and take charge, as I have so many times failed to do the right way. But if you don't do it that way, and if you go to him, that is a lot better than having this come out 3 years later. And all along, You thought that you were going to keep this hidden and I'll just fix it inside of me. No, you're not. It's going to come out. Because a lot of times we think we have answers to things that we just don't have. And sometimes these trainings are just that deep. So when it comes out of you, you hardly even know it's there. So you do need to get answers on it so you can have at least a direction, or are you just delaying yourself 3 years of fixing that problem that you probably could have had fixed already?
I have 2 questions. One is from an email. And brothers, brother Dave, brother Andre, are y'all cool with me going over some of the email questions that I got that were specifically for the sisters? I'll wait for y'all to answer. But Sister Priscilla asked, what was the most difficult obstacle to correct in yourself coming to the faith? Mine was independence and pridefulness.
I would say which I'm still overcoming in different areas, but pridefulness and I would say emotions. It's how I handle my emotions with correction and just dealing with things in general. Being with how I deal with things. I'm a quiet person. I'm an internalizer. So I don't always express things that are going on with me in order to either get understanding or change those things right away. And sometimes I'll let things fester and build up and cause more problems than it needs to be. Whereas if I were to not internalize them so much, then I would be able to overcome those emotions quicker. I'll stick with those 2 things right now. Okay. Well, I'll add being a good sister. Knowing what that means. Know what that means and how that looks in the faith. Being a friend, being a sister, having love and charity.
I can go next. I would say probably first was getting my feelings hurt over every little thing, and being emotional about any and everything. It took a lot of growth to come out of that, honestly, and I guess sometimes I still fall short, but it was a big hurdle. And I think I agree with what Sister Ebony said. Pride, I think, was a big thing, and really having to sit back and see myself for who I was, because honestly, I had never really done that before. Realizing, I guess, being accountable to myself for who I really was, and knowing how to overcome that. I guess that would be the biggest thing I had to do.
Mine was pridefulness and selfishness. I know when it was at the very beginning, even before I think we was kind of coming into the faith, but not fully there. Me and Master had got into an argument, and then he had said that well, this is why you're in the position to where you're at, because you always think of black and white, uh, or well, yeah, black and white. You don't see, the in between. So thinking that, oh well, it's supposed to be. I'm used to it being this way, and this is how it's supposed to go, and this is how it's gonna go, or that, and I can speak in the sense of polygyny, thinking that, well, this is, I've been with this person for this long, and this is my man, as if I owned him. Truly coming into the fact that that's not your property, you're his property. Is what kind of helped me to get through all that other crap and junk. So just seeing yourself for who you are and realizing that you don't own nothing. You're the thing that's being owned. Kind of helped me, but that was some of the areas of where I struggled in, was the pride, and I can't say that I mastered it fully. It's still some areas to where I work on not being prideful. But those are my two things, I would say: pride and selfishness. I will say being in polygyny kind of helps you to get rid of the selfishness and
Don't
the
you say that,
pridefulness.
Tisha?
Say that again.
I said, don't you say that. Don't you put a plug for polygyny in the middle of this stream.
I just said it helps. It helps you see who you really are.
I agree. You're just absolutely right. You just push it on the thorn. That's all.
For myself, I'm still, of course, overcoming these areas. It's pride. I'm learning more and more that I do have a lot of pride in me. I didn't see it at first, which of course is supposed to be, I'm sure, when you're prideful, you don't see you're wrong and you're always right. So pride. I guess trying to defend myself. So if it seems like I'm being attacked in a correction or even a question, just me over explaining things, like saying, well, because of this, and then so I go on a whole long rabbit trail. So just missing even the point of the conversation. So defending myself. Assuming is a big one I have an issue with. I assume in my mind a lot because I am an internalizer. So I think, okay, well, this must mean that I should do X, Y, Z because he didn't say not blah blah. Just assuming instead of asking a direct question. And again, going on with Sister Ebony, yes, learning how to be a good sister wife. I didn't have any successful relationships towards, my peers in church, my girlfriend, so to speak, because that was short-lived. So other than that, that's all. I don't know how to be a good sister wife. Still overcoming, but hoping to be better. Hoping I have some growth and improvement. So four things, something like that. But yeah, those are mine.
Yes, I'm not sure how many he said, but yes, Sister Nina. Thank you for sharing that. You did good. I agree with all the sisters. The same thing, pride for me, or masculinity. Just either still thinking in some way, whether you think it consciously or not, that you are in some way you can match up with your master, because you could do that with your words, even if you're not, to you, not thinking you are, you're thinking, well, I'm just getting my part in, or I'm just letting them know what happened because they missed this part. That's me. That's been me. Or over explaining yourself of why this happened. Well, had this not happened, then this wouldn't happen because this is what caused this react, so on and so forth, things like that. Or just thinking you have to explain something as if he wants an answer every time he tells you something, or he wants your explanation every time he tells you something. But that one was a hard one for me. Things that have to do with talking in general was just hard. Having to say something back, or just explain yourself in general. And then, although I was learning different things, what pride was, that's where a part of the masculinity come in too, because and which is pridefulness as well, because I started to think more recently, and I share with the families or the three sisters, I've always been like, well, what makes me prideful? I don't think I'm all that, or I don't think this, and I don't think that. And I really was not, it was not clicking. And then one day it clicked. It's prideful just to put yourself on the same level as your masters. Because if you're arguing with him, what are you saying? Like, how is that not raising yourself up high? Like, how are you not raising yourself above him just by arguing with him? So when that hit me that way, I was like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. When you look at it that way, because pride to me always meant you just thought you were better than other people. I'm like, I don't think I'm better than people. I'm just doing whatever I do, But when I saw it that way, or when it came to my mind that way, like, why is this not clicking? And it came to me, if you're arguing with your head, what you're fighting for headship, and you are putting yourself above him, you're trying to tell him what you think versus what he think and all that sort of stuff. Like, how is that not, when I seen the definition, raising yourself up high, how is that not raising yourself up high? I'm like, oh my gosh, that's terrible. So looking at it from that perspective is a little different than just thinking I'm better than you or you're better than me. So those were like some of the challenges, and I'm sure there's more. There's always more, but those are the ones I'll say now, and those are the ones that overcoming even to this day is, can be very difficult, because I don't necessarily, my master say something, I'm getting into an argument with them, and I'm trying to keep that up, but it doesn't mean sometimes it's not hard to not want to explain or why this situation happened. And sometimes I'm taking it at a loss, like, well, that's not quite, but it's better. I do tell myself this every time. I'd rather not say something trying to defend myself all the time. Like, you've done enough of defending yourself. If y'all wants it to come out that bad, he'll make an avenue for you. He'll let it out. He'll make an avenue if it was really that important. Like, because right now is just not the time. If you already have a reputation of that sort of stuff, it's not always the time for you to try to keep doing that and say, well, this is really different this time. Like, every time I thought it was different, it wasn't. So it's like, no, just be quiet. And sometimes just cut it off.
I agree with my sisters. I think we've all said pride, and I think we all have actually really biblical definitions of what that is. That's not just like, oh, I'm so proud of you. We're talking about your will, your emotions, your sense of self being uplifted to the point where truth can be told to you in your ears, or it can be laid out in front of you in your eyes, and you still think that you've got something better than that going on. So I will agree with that. It is pride in my life. Mine particularly, I would label as anger, because I'll get mad. Not that I'm going to necessarily freak out and do anything. I might internalize it. Sometimes I might freak out and do something, but internalize it and just be mad. And so in my life, I was not trained up until my master telling me that wasn't going to work. That if I get mad, I have to stop and I have to rein that in and I have to go back to my thinking mind and make a good decision for the best, for the best outcome, whether that be me or anybody else. I wasn't trained that way. So if I get mad, I go do something, whatever I want to do. And he has come in and said, nope, that's not the way of Yah, and that is not how this house is going to function. You go on and get angry, but you can't do those things no more. I expect better. I expect an improvement. And so that laying down of my pride in that angry way has, I forgot what the original question is, so I'm not going to phrase it right. That's been what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yes.
All right, before we get to the next question, sure. I wanted the sisters to have the opportunity to respond to a comment. Sister Melissa Boyer Cafe said, "Okay, I will be honest. It is hard to hear about people being owned by other people. How would you all respond to that comment?"
I guess what helped me is that when you read the word in Ephesians, so we're supposed to be under the man. So if the man is required to be under Yeshua, how are you over that? So is it a clause in there that says, well, for women, we don't have to be held to that standard when our husbands are held to that higher standard? So do they say that, well, I have a problem with Yah or Yeshua because he's over me or he's saying something that's contrary to what I like? They can't do that. So as women and wives, we can't do that either. You have to really look at what's your position according to Yah. So
I'll just say, I think people get caught up in the words. I think that's where we get caught up in and have a problem with stuff. I mean, parents don't generally have a problem saying these are my children. Like, we don't have a problem. These are my husband's children. It's the same thing. I'm his wife. No, I mean, nobody is. Nobody's in prison. I mean, we have tons of freedom within the boundaries of what a wife is supposed to do. And it's for us. We feel you're protected, you're covered, there's somebody about what you need or what the house needs or making sure everything is met. It's not a
Yes, I agree with you, Sister Amy and Sister Keisha as well. But I like the people.
It is not an oppression. It is not an oppression. But by definition, so Amy, you are spot on. It's a wrap up in the words. Go look up these words and figure it out for a brand new mind. We are not talking about oppression.
No. And she made a comment later about people who are in abusive relationships. Like, nothing about what goes on in our households is abusive. I mean, your husband is not. I mean, that's not what this is about. And I don't think y'all would expect us to stay in a situation where we're being abused. It's all about protection.
And then with that, Sister Amy, if I might add, I agree with what you all are saying. But two, now in today's society, you have to determine now what is abuse, because abuse has been changed. per person, what abuse to one person may be something totally different to another. So it's all about, if you're marrying a man of Yah and you see that before marrying him, or if you get that opportunity, or if you're believing in what Yah is saying, then you have to believe it. And I think we have just an overall belief issue. Because we really don't believe what we say we believe. We don't believe Yah is going to do what he says he's going to do. And we don't really trust the people to be over us like that. And we don't believe Yah is going to get them like that because we're like, well, we ain't seen it, or it ain't happening in your time or the way you want to. So I think it's also a belief issue. And then you have to define abuse. Because sometimes telling somebody to shut up, they feel abused. And the way this Me Too society and all this sort of stuff is, I mean, people can say one thing and say, I agree with this and don't agree with this, and now they're being abused. I agree with this action this man is taking, and now I change my mind because he made me mad 3 days later. So now I no longer agree with it, and now you abuse me. I mean, so it also depends on mindset on what abuse even is. So no, we're not talking about oppression or abuse, but you don't define abuse in this and living for Yah in marriage. You're not the one defining abuse. And so that's the hardest part, I think, is learning where you getting your definitions of things from. If you're not getting it biblically, what these things mean, then you may say anything.
Right. Not getting my way is not abuse.
Right.
Right. Yes.
I think too, you have to go back to, you can't take this what we learned in the world and apply it to how it was or how it is that we're supposed to be. Because I think that the woman of old would not even blink an eye to some of the things that we're required to do, or some of the things that the husband might say that today's woman would say that is disrespectful or whatever. So I think you have to just go back and look at how it was really supposed to function and take out of all of the feminists and all of that stuff and go back to the old path. I think sometimes we get caught up on how we are raised now, and we try to, even though we say that we're in the faith, or if you want to call it Israel or whatever, we try to bring that feminist stuff into Israel, which it don't really, you can't do both, is what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
I wanted to read a couple of comments. Sister Priscilla said, we are our husband's property. We are his rib. Even when you marry in the world, you take your husband's name, not the other way around. Stumps, Roots, and Shoot said, owned is a blessing. Being good stewards of our gifts from Yah is important. She also said, him taking ownership of me means he thinks so highly of me that he chooses to call me his. Wow.
Definitely another way of looking at
That's
that.
another way. Woo! Sister Cassie, wife of Narrowgate Homestead, my brother Rob, said, my first relationship, I got my jaw broke, my ear busted, and my hip dislocated. That's abuse. My head telling me to shut up and stop acting a fool isn't abuse. Excellent responses. Woo! Whoa, Sister Elaine said, oh God. In today's society, expecting a woman to be a biblical wife is considered abuse.
True.
HOQ said, people do not have a problem being called an employee of said company. They generally brag due to the pay and benefits. Man. Woo. You want to say something? Okay.
Okay. Want me to read
Well,
this?
yeah, read the comment.
Okay. Melissa Boyer Caffey said, several of my foster kids were beaten. Very sad. But their father justified by claiming them as possession. So the language is similar.
Well, we're not talking about that kind of possession. Different application, same word.
But children are possession of their parents. They sure didn't get born to be possessions of anyone else but their parents. And the thing is about that, you know, we don't know that situation, but if it was what you say it is, you know, very sad, but that's not what we're talking about here. That is not what we're talking about living biblically. But it also goes back to the way society thinks in general, because again, parents disciplining their children in any way almost is abuse according to this nowadays society. Whereas back then, parents could beat their children in the sense of giving them a spanking, if you like the words, because sometimes people just get caught up in words. You say beat and people go, oh my gosh, you swear that the children have broken noses and stuff. And it's not that. They just got disciplined because for their behavior. And back then, and even back then in this country, some years, 20, 30 years back, you can do that, spank your children and get them in line, and it was okay. Those are your children, your possessions. Till someone decided this great idea that even looking at the child wrong became abuse. Nowadays, they say compromise with your children. And usually people get into this feminism, like Sister Keisha was saying, you got all this feminism going on. That's what most of like CPS and all those type of people are. All this in this feminism stuff. So everything is abuse nowadays if it doesn't go according to these guidelines. Well, those are not Yah's guidelines. So again, it all goes back to where are you getting your information from and how is it abuse? Because according to Yah, you need to spank your child. He don't want you to spare the rod. So if the father spanks his child according to what he knows is right, it depends on who's looking at the situation. One will say it is abuse. It's so sad these poor children got touched. No, these poor children need to learn, or they're going to be the same people that society hates. Same people who are out there doing all this bad stuff come from children that are undisciplined. That's just what it is. All the little children that everyone's feeling sorry for, those are the children that come up, and the ones who everyone's complaining about, well, they have no respect. They're stealing people's purses. They're robbing stores. Those are the same children that society is protecting this bad behavior because they don't want their parents to spank their children, and they're trying to keep this discipline back, but then complain later. Then you go throw these same children in jail. Then these children get shot, and then everyone's saying, well, why is everyone shot? Because nobody disciplined them. How about that? Well, why did somebody steal my purse? Because you didn't discipline them. That's why. So it really just goes back to who's defining discipline, who's defining abuse.
So also there's this parallel between Christ and the church and the husband and the wife that we are operating under. It's know about that in the New Covenant, etc. Blah blah blah. So a husband is training up his wife so that she can be returned unto him as without blemish, without wrinkle, and without spots. And those have specific meanings, but the point is, all that he is doing to or for that woman is so that she can be nourished up and grow and be good unto himself. Just like the churches be raised up so that Christ can have a bride when he returns. So there's some really self-evident things there. A husband in this faith, reading this word and living it out, is not damaging for the sake of his ego or his lack of self-control a woman because he just whatever in his own strength. That's not what we're talking about, and that's not the program that we live under, because that's not biblical. And I know that goes on. It goes on in whatever faith, even people without faith, but that's just not what we're talking about. We're talking about men who are righteous, who read the word, who understand these ideas, and all that they put into and do for their wives is so that they can grow up, because we are like little children. They can grow up and be returned unto them as very useful and productive and without sin beings. And that's a very good thing. It's a good thing. In any faith, it's a good thing.
With that being said, sisters, just to explain, what would you consider abuse?
I'm not sure. Sister Amy and Sister Key and the Birdettes, did y'all hear my master's question?
Yes, I'll say abuse is to have a malicious intent, to project evil, to desire evil for that person, to destroy them. That would be abuse.
Well, the Bible talks about blackening your eyes and the proper conduct of slaves. So I would probably use that as a as a reference to how you're supposed to treat anyone, basically. Knocking your teeth out, or I mean, it's scriptures in the Bible about how you're supposed to respect the slave. So is a wife more than a slave?
Yes.
I mean, I agree. I think it's, you always have to fall back on the definitions in the Bible. It's all lined out in there. We just have to follow it. I mean, practically it would be like as a Rodney King plus, you know, something like that. But just regular discipline that's normal. I mean, if you I think we no, I mean he Matt doesn't put his hands on us, so I mean it's hard for me to even think to give a specific example just because I haven't ever experienced anything like that, but I think it's just practically anything that's going to do harm to you. I mean, our masters don't set out to hurt us in any way, shape, fashion, or form. So
yes, I agree with what you sisters are saying. That was someone just being really actually malicious, and someone else put a good comment up, you know, broken ribs and broken bones and all that sort of stuff is abuse. We're not talking about that sort of thing. So, you know, you can't justify that by the Bible that you broke somebody's ribs or bones. I mean, he's talking about knocking the teeth out. So that may even have you reconsider how you discipline your children, what your choice of whether you discipline them on the bottom, let's say, versus punching them in the face. I hope no one's punching their children in the face, and we're not saying we subscribe to that, but you know what I mean? There's a difference. You're punching somebody in the face, you're probably really gonna knock someone's teeth out And already the Bible defines knocking even your slaves' teeth out. You have to let them go free at that point in time. So, but it's all outlined in the book.
Hallelujah.
I agree. On that note, I'll just add one more thing. We don't discipline our children because we're angry either. The discipline is there so that they can be steered in the right direction, and only as much as is necessary is necessary. It's not about us and our egos. It's supposed to be about children and directing them towards obedience. So anything in excess of that, we're not voting for that. Not in support of that.
Okay.
Yeah. I want to read Brother David K's comment because I think that Brother David K, he hit this so perfectly. Brother David K said, "My wife and I are sitting here watching the conversation about submission being hijacked by beatings and abuse. No one is defending or advocating that. This is a distraction to submission. And I really believe that him and his wife really brought the conversation of abuse home. The topic of abuse is oftentimes referenced in line with submission, as if they're synonymous to each other. And it seems to be always the case. A woman that is submissive is abused. I've had people accuse Sister Tanisha of being abused because of how she spoke on polygyny years ago. You must be beating her to believe that. I've had people accuse me of beating Sister Ebony because her thought process wasn't the same as everybody else's. It wasn't the same as the world. We men do not beat our wives into submission. That would not be submission. And I think and you're being very disingenuous every time we mention the word submission or subjection or obedience, we mention abuse. Because for those that are coming to the faith that are new, they are oftentimes distracted by that term because they always have a story. Well, my mom listened to my father, but he beat her. That's not the faith. We need to learn to differentiate the faith, the real faith, from the world. We can't keep bringing what happens into the world into faith. If a child's beat by their parents, if a woman was beat by her husband, we have to learn to say that's not the faith. That's the world. I don't care if the person's name is Ben Israel, been there, done that, Ben Israel. That's not the faith. That's the world. And we need to be very careful to differentiate. We're talking to hopefully seasoned women who are walking this faith out, or women who are striving to walk this faith out. And I think that's a big difference here.
Hey, may I say something, my brother?
Go ahead, brother.
I done met every man and every wife that is on this panel. And I'm just going to say this just for clarification. At least everyone that I've met on the panel, these women come from major cities. They are people that can have whatever. Matter of fact, some of them, I'm sure when we met them, they was already doing their own thing. And I'm talking about big cities in Texas, big cities in California, medium-sized cities in Florida, the ATL, major city for black women. I'm just saying, where these folks have been, they was doing shit before we met them. And I guess the funny part is, they are the most freest women I know on the earth. And people, and the reason I say that is because they're actually serving men of Yah. It's nothing that we are withholding from them. Like right now, I mean, they can literally get anything they want within reason. And when I say within reason, meaning up under our powers, up under these men power to get. We not holding their hand doing nothing. If they need, I know some of these women that went to the store when their masters was sick, all kind of stuff. So they wanted to leave. My God, we'll almost bless their shoes off if they wanted to leave. So this false ideal of they're in prison is basically what FY just said, and some of the other people, is that we always talking about we following the word, but we applying a worldly standard to this. It really is sad because you can't do that. You cannot serve two masters. This walk is totally different from what we did in the world. So I was just throwing that out there because I just want people to know we met each other. I know that some of y'all was successful before you got married. And if it was, I guess what? If it was bad, I'm pretty sure instead of you just wanting to leave, your masters would say, "Hey, it's bad over here. I'm a terrible guy. I'm abusive. I'm gonna need you to get some hat and you know go take." I bet you some of them, even though we don't really believe this, they would tell you to take the kids with you if they were that kind of man, because they wouldn't want to ruin their own seed. And if I'm wrong, y'all say it. Y'all feel free to, you know, under your master's permission, tell me if I'm wrong. If y'all under some kind of bondage.
Not that.
No, absolutely, we are not. We have no promptings of you better this or else I'm gonna that or nothing. That doesn't go on here. Quite the opposite. We got a problem with something, we just don't want to see it. Boop, there's the road. Yeah, so we have freedom. Absolutely. No chains. Quite delighted to be here. And also,
Sorry,
yes,
brother.
Also, yes.
Oh no, you good, brother Andre?
Sorry.
Mommy, she's trying to go in the house.
Go ahead. Oh. Yes. Going on what Brother Andre said about if, you know, our husbands were abusive, they'd even, you know, they take the children, you know, because they wouldn't ruin their seed. Our master has said before to us that, of course, if he is going against Yah, if he is totally going against Scripture, that yes, take the children because he will be leading them on the road to hell. And it's not going to be like, oh, well, he didn't say this right, so he's sinning because he's, you know, he's pissed at me or something. So for no reason. So he has malice or something. Not that. It's biblically proven sin going to the Torah. So I get the point. Not the same. So if if he's attracted to a guy or something, we'll just say that. All right. Yes. He these men are different in terms of how it's not just for them and their benefit or their glory even. It's putting the women and children first. They're always taking the back seat.
Yes, our master has said that if he ever turned against Yah, he said, "You would take the money?
No, you.
We would take the money and children and leave." We take the money and the children and leave. If he ever turned against Yah.
Sister Melissa, you are absolutely okay, sister. I don't see any maliciousness in your question. I see your comment says, I am frustrated because I know a lot of questions I have will be asked by others with different motives. And yes, the questions that we know that you're not asking it with a different motive, but we have heard these questions a lot, many times from people who use these questions to try to usurp authority over a man. But we understand your intent, sister, so please do not feel ashamed or afraid of asking these questions. We understand your intent.
I think a lot of times for the men who are abusive, a lot of times, you know, women might be linking themselves to the wrong man. I can only speak on the men I know that's on the platform. Like Master was saying, they don't abuse their wives. They hold themselves more so to what y'all thinks about them and the price that they will have to pay. So therefore, they're not abusing their wives like that. But you can't say that for every man. I think it kind of falls back on too, where you're at when you're necessarily, I guess, choosing these men that you're gonna be under. Not in every case, but in some cases, you know, some women, especially worldly women, before they even know the truth or accept the truth, I would say, they want to select a certain group of men, and when they do that, that's kind of all on them at that point.
Woo.
And you can't base it on how big their penis is and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, you have to look at the man and see if he's actually following y'all. Sometimes, ladies, it's our fault.
No, it's a bone.
Man. Woo. Sister Elaine said, we live in a society where men are pictured as violent monsters. Jezebel spirit trying to overtake a man's authority. And I think, Sister Elaine, if I may speak to what you just said, you're dead on. I think that a lot of the masculine man today, the man with vision, direction, the man that says, the man that's unwavering and unbending, the man that is strong, the man that says, no, we're not going that way. And if you want to go that way, you go by yourself, but I ain't going with you. That man is oftentimes considered abusive. When we say as men, you know, if the wife says, why can't we do this? Because I said we ain't doing it. For a woman, that's abusive to her. Because she feels, you know, women have climbed this ladder to where they feel they're even the men, so that they feel that they are privy to all the information a man is privy to. When biblically, that was not so. If I say I'm planting a whole garden of carrots and she wants beets, guess what we're planting? Carrots. And that's not abuse. Nor do I, as a man, ever feel that I have to explain to her why I'm planting carrots. Ever. There's not even an unction inside of me that says, well, I better explain to her why I want carrots or why I'm planting carrots. I never feel that. That's not abuse. That's what manhood was. That's what being a man was. Now it's this compromising, let's talk about my decision as a man. No. Pop. Let's talk about my decision as a man. Let's compromise. Let's come to a mutual agreement. That's not manhood. That's not the authority of a house. That's not the wife being the man's possession. That's being co-equals, 50-50. We've lost the meaning of what real biblical marriage is, because biblical marriage is not polygyny. Biblical marriage is patriarchy. And we don't understand that today. Brothers and sisters,
Oh, Sister Priscilla said Egypt tries to emasculate the man.
oh.
Did you have something to say, Sister Sky? Oh, she's talking to Brother David.
No, I didn't say anything. Sorry.
Okay. Yes, they're doing a lot of emasculating right now in with how they portray, especially the black man on TV and the media, and all these different celebrities, all these men wearing dresses and skirts and all different types of stuff.
If I may ask the wives a question, in all reality, if your husband made a decision and was always changing his mind because of what you said, how would you really feel about his decision making?
I say it wouldn't even be his decision to me at that point, because if he's changing his mind every time I said something and he wasn't standing firm on nothing, then you probably wouldn't trust his decision. So whenever you started feeling doubt in what he is saying, you're going to go and try to influence it. It's almost like a natural thing. Once you get a little taste of that you can influence him in that way, as soon as you start feeling any sort of doubt or fear in what he's saying or what is he having the family to do, or something that you didn't agree with, you will go speak to him so he can change it, and you will have him change it in the direction you want.
All right, so I'll answer. If my husband is always yielding to what I say, and it's revealed by our function that really I'm the one in charge because he just depends on me to make the decisions, then I would say we're functioning as a puppet matriarchy, right? We talk about the husband being in charge and being the head, but really in function, it's me. So if we're a puppet matriarchy, well, some folks can operate that way, and that's fine. It's just not biblical. It's just not following in line with what y'all described as Christ being the head of the church and the husband being the head of the wife. It's just not following that pattern. So if we're going to be like, we read the Bible and we're all about the book and we're expecting the return of Christ and blah, 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 but we don't get this aspect right, then we're disconnected somehow. There's some hypocrisy there. You have to question why is there hypocrisy there? And I wouldn't want to go into that answer like fully, because that's not how we function. So, but that'd be my answer. It'd be a puppet thing.
Yeah, I know for sure. Destroy the respect aspect.
It might give the wife a false sense of peace, so to speak, or gratification. But really, if he is wavering with you throwing a little fit about it, well, who's to say he's not going to do that with someone else or some other person's advice? And it's like, okay, so he listened to you, great for you. You got your way. Well, if he is that weak, it's a false sense of security for the wife.
Oh man.
It's
That's
only if she is in charge all the time, and that's not going to be forever. There might be some new person or new thing he's attracted to, or he's in this phase of life now, so he thinks this is the way it should be now, based on other people. Then you're always going to be tossed, to and fro, even if it starts out with you holding the reins, so to speak.
That was good, Sister Nina. And then to add to that, what happens when he get a next wife and he likes her better than you? Now he's listening to what she said. Now it ain't so fun, is it? Because is it your word he's gonna listen to or hers? Well, it's gonna be by whoever he likes. This is yours. I thought it was yours. Yeah.
I think honestly we'll be looking kind of funny if he based his decision off of what other brothers said.
Oh,
Wow.
woo!
I mean, at the end of the day, he's supposed to be the head of his family, not negating the fact that you get ideas and different things from other brothers. When we're speaking in regards to the men, of course that's going to happen. But if he's like, well, I gotta wait on brother so and so before I make a decision, or brother so and so said this, so now I'm gonna change up the whole thing just based on what brother so and so said.
Oh man.
Yes.
I mean, I think we would for sure lose trust. It would be super stressful because then it all falls on, if you're the one making the decisions, it all falls on you. And I've been there before. That's not a good place. Before I got married. But and if it's the case of the brother, then you're always sitting back waiting on somebody else outside to, like Sister Sky said, pull the strings. It would be a really stressful place for us to be in, I think. And it'd be hard to trust.
And then who's accountable for this decision making? Because normally when someone's always waiting on someone else, they're never accountable for their decision making. So what's going to change? How do you all get out of that rut? Because I'm like, well, that fell what brother so-and-so said, or that fell what you said, or that fell what this person said or did, or it's a mess.
I agree. And it would be the same way if he was yielding to his mother or his father, or the same way if he was yielding to a pastor. As a wife, you can see where the real power is, and that would just mess you up.
Mm-hmm.
Sister Scott, you just
feel bad. Brother Chris, was you talking?
I was just gonna say she took my question. I was about to ask, what about if your pastor asked you to do something and he was always obeying your pastor? How would you feel as a wife?
I would be wondering whose show we running here. Is we running Pastor so-and-so show or the David show?
Woo.
In a funny way, I'd say, who am I in bed with? Both of you at the same time? How does that work?
Oh, damn.
Yeah,
that was good.
With both of you at the same time. Oh, man.
That's exactly it. Who are you under at that point?
Oh yeah, I said go marry the pastor. LOL. Right. When the man is always doing that, it's like, yeah, you're supposed to be running us. You're married to the pastor.
Man.
Sometimes
that's it.
what
Just leave your husband and go marry the pastor. Then at least you got the direct line. You get things done real fast.
Right. Actually, in fact, I heard a woman say that. I heard that said actually before. A woman say that before. A young woman said, well, if he always listens to the pastor, what do I need him for? I might as well go be with the pastor so I can get the benefits of being with that pastor along with it.
There you go.
There you go.
No. It's a TV stuff. PG, I don't know if PG is good enough, but we at least got to be PG-13 +1.
Well,
my
we
bad.
haven't been after dark for a long time. The Rock
Right.
After Dark hasn't been here for a long
After
time.
dark.
Okay, we had another question. I believe it was I forgot. I can't see the comment. The question was that Sister Priscilla said, "What is your favorite part of being a helpmeet?"
So it's not exactly spoken in this way, good and faithful servant, but just accomplishing exactly that task the way it works for him. I would say that's the best thing. Just nailing it on the head, just getting it right, making it work, fixing the problem just like he wanted it done. That's my favorite part. That vote of accomplishment, thy good and faithful servant. You good and consistent wife. Hallelujah. That kind of praise. That's it right there.
I agree. I think being a part of him executing his vision, I think that's what feels most beneficial for me. That I have a part in helping him get to where it is that y'all is called him to be.
That's how you stole my answer. That was it exactly. I agree.
All right. Sister Cassie said, this is an interesting question. I think me and Brother Andre and Brother David have had many conversations about this question. I have a question. Once a father gave a blessing to marry his daughter, then a few years later, he decided he does not like the guy anymore. Can he make the daughter leave the husband?
No.
I guess that'd be more of a question for men.
Yeah, that's a question for men.
No.
Brothers?
It's too late. No.
No. J. Carr? No. Yeah, we were. We were just talking about that earlier here. Woo. Yep. Are your children allowed to date? Sisters?
Hell no. That was my white version.
No. No, there's no dating, no tryouts.
No
But David
making
said he said no
decisions by
dating
themselves
trial.
independently where we don't know what's going on.
But David said, Sky, what you sipping on?
That red wine
Right,
that you handed me.
Sister Priscilla said, if they were home, it would be a no. If they're out there in the world, they're on their own. All right, I have an email question. Sister Melissa, actually within this faith, I can speak for my house. My children will not be trying out anybody. Nobody.
Nope.
It'll be somebody that I have watched them work. I want to see their work over not just a day or a month or a week. I'm talking about years. I want to see their work, and I want to know their parents. I want to know they come from good stock.
Hey, say, brother, can you go into detail about that? I mean, because brother David K got a pretty good question, and it's gonna be stuff we talked about. You know, like we talk about brotherhood and families getting to know one another and so forth and so on.
I didn't see Brother David K's comment, but I'll comment on that. What you're asking, brother. And brothers, Brother David, Brother Andre, Brother Ronnie, Brother J-Car, please step in at any point. Here's how I see this, and I see it in the Bible. Men, this is one of the most important things about brotherhood, is you are actually learning and figuring out who your children will marry while you are in brotherhood with them. It's not the job of the pastor or anybody else to marry your children. So if I have a brotherhood with the brothers that I have right now, Brother J. Carr, Brother Ronnie, Brother Frank, Brother David, and Brother Andre, and they have children, by watching what the men do, I am learning how they're teaching their sons and their daughters. So if a brother is a bad brother, that means that he's teaching his son how to be a bad son, or his daughter how to be a bad daughter, which means they are eliminated from me ever giving my children the okay of marrying somebody from their household. Likewise, if the brother is true and honest, he ain't got to be rich. But if he's a hardworking brother, has a vision, then guess what? Guess what I learned? That that's a good brother. Which means, as time goes on, when I look for a husband for my daughter, and I look for wives for my sons, guess whose household I'm looking at now? Because I know that man. I know what kind of character he has. I know that that man has taught his sons how to work, how to grow food, how to take care of his household. I can look at that man and I can look at his wives and say, man, his wife or wives are happy. They are taken care of. So he taught his sons how to take care of their prospective wives. Too many times, men put the responsibility of their daughter finding a husband on their daughter or on the pastor. Or they put their responsibility of their son finding a wife on their son or on their pastor. That's your responsibility, men. It's all throughout the book. So if we as men took this responsibility and valued brotherhood, not valued westernized church, where somebody sits on a pulpit and screams and yells at you about how stupid you are, how much you need to repent, but they don't. If you valued brotherhood, iron sharpens iron, growing together. If your wives, you see, because that's another thing is that when you have brotherhood, the wives are talking to each other. The children are playing with each other. And we as men be watching. We sit back and we watch. And we analyze and we say, I wonder if my son could take a daughter from that house. Because I can see the wife is in submission. The wife's over there, a raging Jezebel. My son ain't married into that household. Because now there's a covenant between me and that brother. If my son takes a wife from his household, there's a covenant with that brother. And you know how bad it would look within the faith, within it, quote unquote, Israel, whatever that means today. And we got a bunch of covenant breakers, men giving their daughters away and then taking them back. And we've heard stories of this. How would that make Israel, the faith, the believers as a whole look? You got Jezebel wives, lazy ass men who want to marry their children away. Brothers, y'all got anything?
Now you on point, brother. I'm good over here.
Now, FY, I think you hit the nail on the head. And I saw Brother Andre's comment. Now there would be absolutely no tryouts, no used car tactics, none of that nonsense or foolishness. I can say for my household, it will be marriages that we arrange, that we set up, or that I give my blessings on. That's it.
Hallelujah.
Brother
Journey Acres,
what you're saying, Brother Chris.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, brother. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I was listening to what you were saying, and ultimately that's what it's about. Because if we don't trust each other as brothers to the extent that we can establish relationships where we can watch our sons being raised, watch each other's character to the point where we are raising the standards of prospective young men or prospective spouses for our children, then really, what are we doing? It's a waste of time. That's really what it is. Why would we be hanging out or engaging in so-called brotherhood with men who do not have the character that we would be comfortable with either sending our children to or having our children yoke up with their children because we can't trust their character.
Man.
So, I don't remember who it was that asked that question. I thought it was David Cave or whoever it was. That was a great question because I think that really hits to the, it starts to speak volumes for what is brotherhood about. What is brotherhood about? Do I have brotherhood if I can't know that when it's time for my daughter to be married, that I either have a spouse in one of my brothers or one of my brother's children? And if the answer is no, hey, we got to go back to the drawing board. That's how I
Amen. Amen. I saw some comments. Journey Acres said, is it biblical to arrange a marriage for her son? And Brother David K said, Rebecca was sent for. That was an excellent answer, Brother David K. Also, in the Bible, God says he told Israel many times where you are and aren't to take wives from. That's an arranged marriage. You can go to these people, but you can't go to these people. That would be the same way in an arrangement for your son or your daughter. What age do you guys marry? I would say legal. What the United States of America calls the legal age. Since the New World said you do mean that it's long as a gentleman meet all your qualifications, your daughter can choose along with you among them. I'm a little bit confused with what that means. What was that?
I think she means like, are you giving them a little bit?
Oh, I give them enough choice in this situation. I'm gonna ask for their feedback. I'm not gonna set her up with Jabba the Hutt. Nor am I gonna set my daughter up with some man who's gonna move her to Africa. Bros, y'all say the same thing? Brother David, you cool? Your daughter going to Africa?
I can tell you with absolute certainty, my daughters will not be moving to Africa unless for some reason I decided to take them there. That's it. So he won't be moving to Africa, and he won't be like 70 something. So, whatever that's
Yeah.
You mean someone's not gonna come and tell you that if you were a good father, you'd have your wife arranged to Ronald Reagan?
Well, somebody might try to, somebody might be crazy enough to come tell me that, but shit, that don't mean I'm gonna listen. I'll do what I've been doing. I'll follow the book plus nothing. I'll just roll with y'all. I ain't worried about no pastor or elder and any of this slick marketing schemes for women.
Woo!
But I digress.
Journey Akers asks, but does a father have the authority to force his son to marry? Or only the first wife? Let me see. I'm thinking. I wouldn't say he has the authority to force his son to marry, but I'm gonna point my son to where he's gonna find his wife.
Right. I agree. I think he
Hey,
definitely
you-
has the authority to say who that person does marry. Absolutely.
Yes.
I was just gonna say you'll be in line with the word. I mean, because if we remember, Abraham sent his chief servant, Eleazar.
Yes.
Then he sent him after Rebecca. So I think it's our duty, according to scripture, to point him in the right direction.
Yes. In fact, there are many times even Yah said, don't go to that land to find your wife. You go over here and look. Brother David K, brother, you are on it. He said, until a young man impresses me, he's got no chance of spending time with my daughters. And if I am not impressed with a man's wife, their daughters will not be in the running for our son. Brother, woo, woo. Brother David came out the brother David K came out the gate swinging, just knocking people out, allies, enemies, everybody. You better get out the way of them fists.
Yeah, I think that was spot on, and not usually. That's not like based on some short term. We spent one feast day together type meeting either.
No.
Like, nah, you talking about my seed? I have to be convinced.
And it's because, as the sister had asked before, once I send my daughter away, I can't then go back and be like, divorce this dude. So I got to make sure it's right. I thought somebody asked the question. What is your process? Oh man, let me find it. Here's the question I have for you, sisters. Would you want your sons marrying somebody like you?
After the faith, sure.
Right now, this moment, right now.
Qualify that.
Right now.
Yes, yes. I'll base it on what Master says. So my answer would be yes.
Sister Susan said we're looking 40-ish for our daughter. Getting married. Did everybody answer?
No, I think our sons. If I go how I am today, I still think our sons deserve somebody better than what I am and what I have been. I would love to be able to just say yes, but no. I would say better.
I would say better also.
So I agree on the aspect of I would like her to be submissive from a very young age because I was not. I would like the wife of any of my sons to be that way. But if we're talking about white or black, that's why I said please qualify. Because I'm white and my husband is black. And if we're talking about I want my sons to marry a black woman or a white woman, that's a bit of a different answer. Ultimately, I'm going to leave that up to my husband and the woman that presents herself to be a good candidate because the black and white issue is not an issue. Obviously, I'm sitting right here.
Hallelujah.
Comes in all colors.
Hi.
I agree.
Children.
I'm really thinking about this, but I would have to say that I have a lot of growing to do. So I would hope that my son gets a better wife than I am right now. Ultimately, it's up to master to decide, but that would be my input. And thankfully, I'll be able to spot a whole bunch of my blemishes, I'm sure, in her.
All right. I have a polygyny question now. Y'all already had to know those were coming. I had to save those for this live stream. Is everybody ready?
Yes, thumbs up.
Okay. What do you dislike most personally about having a sister wife? That's what they asked.
Not good for your spot.
Right.
Everybody's cheesing it. I see that. Everybody's smiling. I got smiles from everybody.
All right, so I'm going to jump in first. Keisha, unless you want to, I will defer to you, my dear.
Oh, no, you're good.
All right. So I'm being honest, right? That's like the precursor for I'm going to say something sensitive to my own self. I do not like the aspect of Master and Nina, the second wife, being on one accord and me being in discord.
Oh, man.
I do not like that aspect. The idea that the two of them can be unified and like gang up, which is not an accurate representation of it, but feeling right in my emotions, like they're ganging up on me. That'll make me another color. That'll just blow me up. And that just reveals something about myself, which I'll leave undisclosed. But that I would say is the killer. That's the killer to me.
I guess for me, I would say competition. There, I think we all have the same goal in mind. So competition shouldn't be a place in polygyny because we are all focusing on the master.
Anybody else?
I would say, the thing I dislike the most is when there's an issue going on in the house that even if, say, one wife didn't cause it, you can be on your P's and Q's, and if there's something else going on in the house, you might be the recipient or it feels like you're the recipient of whatever the wrong was that you had nothing to do with. And I'm not going to say I'm not the causing factor in that benefit.
I agree. That goes both ways.
Anybody else?
Anything different?
I can agree with HOQ and Sky a little. I can agree. I would say that what comes to my mind right now is being shown so easily or having it like thrown in my face where I'm lacking. Where she is doing, such right, then I can see where I am not. Or if I fail to act on my part and she has to jump in, I don't like that because it shows that I missed my part.
Are you gonna answer?
Those are all good answers. I agree with you all. I can see all those aspects. I'm gonna say like kind of how Sister Kia and Sister Amy, because it actually goes both ways. I don't like it either way, which makes me guilty too. But it is what it is. I do not like the aspect of everything being, but she's new. I hate that because, but I was new and but I was by myself and but she's new and she got other people. So that doesn't mean she's getting the information and she got every aspect got something that the other aspect didn't have. So that gets old. But then there's the aspect that also bothers me in that same thought is, but where you a good example, and then that's the puncher right back at me where I'm like, dang, but if you didn't show a good example or if you didn't do your part, you eat it just, so it's like a double whammy there. It's like one of those things that I hate that I wasn't up to where I should have been going into polygyny, because then it's constantly like, well, why didn't you do your part? And that's a real question, a real deal. It's like, yeah, you should have been doing what you're supposed to be doing. So I always got to take that one back. So I always think of it both ways, not just one. But the new gets old after a while. It's like, and I didn't have this. I didn't have these many people helping me. So and they knew. Okay, it's kind of like everybody came in when they came in, and you get it and just start moving in that.
Hallelujah.
That would be it.
And listen, y'all can't blame me for these questions because these are the questions that y'all sisters sent in emails. So this is all y'all. Sister Melissa asked the question. I think Brother Andre, Brother David, maybe your input would be helpful in this question as well. If an older woman joined your faith, is being a concubine or handmaid the best they can hope for? That's an excellent question.
If a new sister joined the faith?
Hey,
If an
can I ask you
older
a question?
woman,
What does joining the faith have to do with marriage?
I was gonna, man, you took the words out of my mouth.
I'm just trying to get enough clarification because those two are two. I mean, you could join the faith belongs to the Most High. So the Bible belongs to the Most High. We just his people receiving it and walking and living it. I mean, walking it out and living it. So feel free, sister, to join the faith. I mean, I'm just being real. But you got to ask yourself, what does that have to do with joining a man's house?
I completely agree with what Brother Andre said. It's almost like the statement or question draws out numerous questions within it. One being understanding what it is to join the faith and how, honestly, that's a completely different matter of marriage. But I guess the second part would be an easier answer. I would say, no, that wouldn't mean that that's the best that you could hope for. But, you know, you have to understand that that's something that would be dependent, you know, that would vary dependent upon household. Because there's no like standard, hey, if you have XYZ, you're going to be a wife, or ABC, you're going to be a concubine. That's going to pretty much be, you'll be placed where that head of household sees fit. Should he find you worthy of joining his home? And that really should be the goal. The goal should really be, how can I get covered? How can I get covered? Not what position I'm being covered under. That really, from my opinion, my belief is, you know, that should be the goal. What can I do to be covered? How can I remove this reproach? And I don't know that you're in a situation of reproach. You know, if you're a widow over 60, I don't think you're reproached. But if you're not 60 and you're unmarried, I just leave it what Yah said. And so the goal would then be to remove what Yah called a reproach. And he didn't specify remove that by wifehood, remove it by becoming a concubine, or he just, your goal should be to remove that reproach and get covered. That would be my opinion. And how that, who takes you as what will be dependent upon, that's in the purview of that man specifically. And I'll pass the mic to Brother Chris.
I think both y'all killed it. Done, dead. I think the biggest point is, first and foremost, joining the faith. The faith is not a membership based like church. If you keep the okay, since the New World said joining the house, if it's joining a house, that makes a lot more sense. Because joining the faith, this is not a membership based. You know, you go to your normal Christian church and they say, you want to join the church, fill out this card. That's not the faith. You know, I've never joined the faith. I didn't fill anything out. I kept y'all's commandments and I knew who I was. When it comes to joining a person's house, I think so many times we get caught up, as Brother David just said, and I believe Brother Andre said it, we get caught up so many times in, what is my title going to be if I get there? When I joined, or when I came to the faith, when I realized who I was, I didn't ask y'all first, am I going to be a head, Yah, or am I going to be a shoulder, or am I going to be a toe? My concern, no dude. My concern was I wanted to be covered. That was it. Whatever that looked like for my master was good for me because I wanted to be covered. I think that one of the obsessions that women have today, and I'm just going to be real with this, is women come in all saying, we want to be wives. I want to be a wife. I have to be a wife. And I think that becomes a distraction because, to be honest, the Bible gives very specific instructions and very specific ways that are of a wife. If you're somebody that doesn't meet the qualifications of a wife, it would be foolish to say, I'm going to make you a wife. But that's what we're taught today. In order to join a man's house, if you join to a man's house, anything less than a wife, you're degraded. And that's not true. That is not true. There's a high responsibility in joining a man's house as a wife. And to be honest, and I'm just being real, a large majority of women join men's houses as nothing higher than a servant. But a lot of men don't understand that. You know, if you come into a man's house and you're rebellious and wicked and talking back, you're not qualified to be a wife. Now, a lot of men today don't understand the definition of a wife, so we wife everything. She can be rebellious, loudmouth, talking back, leaving, coming, going, jacking your money, all this stuff, and we call her a wife. That's not the Bible. The Bible is very specific in what a wife is. So I think the more important thing today would be, can I join a man's house and be covered? As Brother David said, take away that reproach. That should be the important thing that we're focused on. I'm focused on serving Yah. And whatever position Yah has me in, whether that be the foot, whether that be a hair, whether that be a muscle, the sartorius muscle, the sternocleidomastoid, the clavicle, whatever bone or muscle, the intercostals that keep the ribs together, I'm just thankful that I'm not a vagabond. And then this is just being real, if you're concerned of what is my position, if that keeps you from being covered, then you shouldn't be covered. Period. I think we need to focus a little bit more on, am I covered, and not what position am I going to be in if I choose to get covered. That should be our concern, especially in this faith, especially in this walk. I hope that brings some sort of clarity. Okay, Brother David K said, briefly, can we define the difference, Brother David, Brother Andre, and the wife? Briefly, can we define the difference of those titles, handmaid, concubine, and the obvious definition of wife? Brothers?
I'll defer to you, brothers, because in my book, that's not a brief answer, nor a like that's a live stream in and of itself, from my perspective.
It really is.
So I'm going to defer to Brother Andre and Brother Chris on that one. Or put it other ways. No, not briefly. I couldn't. No.
I was gonna just say the same thing. I mean, I agree with the sentiment that was just said. How can I say this in a nice way? I don't think I'm gonna just say something. In thinking of even entertaining, joining a man's house, I would not even be thinking. I'm just saying me. I wouldn't be thinking about what positions is what right now, because we just start with the basics. Just being in the faith, and I'm just keeping it 100. I know they ain't gonna like this answer, but just learning Yah's ways and all that stuff, that's more important than where you're gonna be placed. I think the thing is, people want to be placed. They're so used to being placed everywhere they go because they have a thought and a thought about themselves. Most time we have a thought, hey, I'm going to work for this company. Even though you applied for the position of this, you really want something else. Does that make sense? And so what I'm saying is, I think we focus too much on that. I'm not saying you should know the difference between a handmaid, a concubine, and a wife, but by the same token, when I really look at things now, women need to have, and this is just for Andre, women need to have the idea of coming into a home and putting in the work and then waiting for placement, waiting for a title, waiting for position. as if they're waiting for instruction, because most people are going to think they're qualified to be wives, but they haven't lived like that. If that makes sense. Most people are going to think they qualify to be concubines, but guess what? They don't qualify for that. I mean, if you can look at even the base model, a handmaiden was a servant, and guess what? She matriculated into a wife or concubine or whatever they wanted to call it. And if you look at it, really, Bilhah and Zilpah was handmaids to Rachel and Leah, and then they became after Jacob got with them and had children, then they start manifesting into what? Wives. But that's from putting in work. So I mean, my process is a little different now. When me and Keith first got married, the only thing I knew was, well, when you marry her, that's gonna be your wife.
Right.
I have sired children through her, or whatever, and she has put in the work. But by the same token, now, if I had to go all the way back, I'm pretty sure it'd have been a little bit different, because when I met her, she wasn't a virgin. So as men learn, I mean, the standard of Yah, it changes. So a woman has to carefully examine herself and say, okay, do I have children? Am I capable of having children? Oh, I'm just saying, am I untouched? I'm just being honest. It's painful to hear this stuff or even to say it, but it's just Yah's word, and we have to learn to embrace that. But either way, I'm in total agreement with y'all. That's a whole nother live stream, because it will blow people up. It would even blow up most men houses as the way they have them now. Because women would be looking crazy. You mean I would only be classified as a concubine? You mean I would literally be classified as a handmaid? Oh man, you talking about tearing up a whole house.
Brother Andre, with that, you said something there, and I want to be honest. To the sisters that are married, now with your understanding of being a wife, when you came into your master's house, did you come in as a wife, a concubine, or as a handmaid? Defining it biblically, how did you come in? Y'all can start first.
Whatever the lowest was, that would have been me.
Now that you understand biblically what the roles are, when you came into my house, how did you come in as? Did you come in as a wife, or did you come in as a concubine or as a servant?
Probably a servant, whatever the lowest.
They both said
Plan house, whatever that is.
Yeah, they both said servants because they came in with this perception of, because we have a covenant, we're married, but did you do what a wife did? Remember, as our faith is a faith of doing, not emotions and feeling good. Did you do the role of a wife? And if not, then you proved by your own fruit you weren't one. So then really, what did you come in as? Brothers, would y'all like y'all wives to answer that?
Yep. Mine can answer also whenever y'all ready.
I mean, it's okay.
Right. What about Andrew? What about Andrew say?
I don't know. He Sister King Amy's working. Oh wait, he's working.
Oh, I was saying, hey, bro, they can answer. One thing I want to throw in there is that, when I say we got to get our minds fixed on and get them right, if you were a part of a man's house, that was a big thing. We automatically assume a handmaiden and or a servant was just trash. We equated to being a natural slave in the United States of America or any other country. We don't equate it to the value that Yah had for his people. I mean, if we really think about it. We think about Laban giving his daughters handmaids as they were trash or some subservient piece of junk. But you got to think about something. Would you entrust your daughters with some raggedy woman, with a woman of no character? That's what I mean. Like, our whole mind as people, it has to change in order for us to actually be where God wants us to be. I mean, growth, maturity. Because think about it. If a woman was qualified to be a handmaid to my wives or either to my daughter, like they even had nursemaids, I wouldn't put the rackless person on earth around her. I wouldn't
Right.
entrust this person to be watching over Sarah. I'd be like, this got to be
Right.
the best of the best. Until women see themselves like that, coming into a man's house, matter of fact, it won't be many coming into men's house because
Right.
their mind is too jacked.
This westernized construct of marriage has taught every woman that they're coming in, and every man should be lucky and blessed to have them because they're marriage material.
Right.
Biblically, this was not so. But yet, at the same time, these women look at servants and concubines as trash, and biblically, they were not trash. Biblically. But because we don't truly understand the Bible, we see it as, if I don't come in as a wife, I'm a horrible person. Well, guess what? Everybody who's listening to this stream, I did not come to y'all worthy of being a bride.
No.
Not even close.
No.
We have to truly transform our minds and divest ourselves of this westernized culture and its terms.
You put it down. Pick it up.
Because a wife was a big responsibility. Big. Read the Bible, what it says about a wife. She will do him good all the days of her life. She will double his years. He will live the years of his life in peace. Not he's going to spend. Listen to this. The Bible doesn't say that a man's going to spend his years correcting his wife. That's not the Bible. I'm just saying. No, stop.
No.
Somebody want to answer that question?
All right, go ahead. I was gonna pipe in, but I'll digress till we hit on more as brothers, because again, that's a whole nother deeper conversation. But I will say this, really before we even dive into that, pretty much like what you were saying, we have to understand, hey, what would a woman have been if she was not found worthy to be a handmaiden, was not found worthy to be a concubine, was not found worthy to be a wife? What position would she have found herself in if she's not a daughter in her father's home? And obviously, I'm not talking about those included as widows.
What position would she find herself in?
Scenario, we could just say it was nothing pleasant. And
dead.
Worst case scenario, I would just say, it might be in that category that we've heard others recently try to define as, well, in their words, holy whores.
Oh, man.
Which, of course, no such thing exists. So I just say whores. Straight up.
Man, brother David.
So, that's really like a very heavy question in the sense of we have to understand why y'all. Well, it just warrants a whole lot deeper understanding. That's what I was going to say, but I'll shut up so they can answer. But that's a great question. Not one for a brief answer, but a great question nonetheless.
Man, brother David.
Okay, so I'm answering, I think, directly your question. Who was I coming into my marriage with Brother David, or my master David. So I qualify by biblical definition as a whore, not because I stood on the corner and offered my body, if you will, for money. Not in that perspective, because I've never done that.
Take care of that.
Right, a non-virgin, and the way that I would allow my mind to be susceptible to some other leadership than my husband.
Oh man.
So that was at this point 21 years ago, and I have had access to my husband teaching me and directing me and charging me to improve upon my ways. And I read the Bible for myself. I have several copies, and I can think for my own self and understand what the words mean. And I do see that the error of my ways in which I was brought up in are not according to my best interest, and they are by definition what will lead me to destruction. That's what I'm qualifying whorishness as. It's not just the use of my uterus, it's the use of my brain as well. And that can apply to men otherwise, but that's not my point.
Sir, I was concerned.
I just said technically it would be the vagina, not the uterus, but I digress.
Well, the point of the use of the vagina is to intercept seed. All right. Otherwise, we're going to okay, after God. So my point is, that's who I am. That's who I was, not who I am. And there's a regeneration that is possible through the word of Yah, because it is unchanging. If you believe in a regenerative spirit, the Holy Spirit abiding in you and changing you from what you were to what you are, then you're on the path. You're on the path of the Bible. And that's qualifying where I'm at.
I just want to cut in real quick. That's very huge, because you cannot repent until you come to the truth. And that coming to the truth is not that coming to the truth is not just coming to the commandments, but it's also the truth of who you were. That's the truth. What is your status? What is your sin coming into this faith? We always say, well, I'm in the truth, but you lie about yourself. That's not truth if you're lying about yourself.
Hey,
go look Chris, in the mirror. Go ahead, brother David.
I was just going to say, I heard you say it earlier, and I just wanted, and I'm trying to yell because someone said, hey, can you be louder next time you talk? Which I thought I was yelling, so I don't understand that, but maybe it was the direction of the camera. I don't know. Nonetheless, I heard you saying earlier how when you came to Yah, and I'm paraphrasing here, you were not pure. Hey, I was in the same boat. I was a whoremonger. So,
yes, sir.
You know, if I were coming in as a bride to Yah, I would not have qualified in the category of a wife. So I just come in and being like, thank you, Father, for seeing fit to choose this. Well, I'll leave choosing me. Because I know what I was worthy of, and I know all that I'm unworthy of, which would be nothing except for death. And so it's pretty similar when we really just get down to it.
That is true.
But that takes some humility.
Man.
And that's that nasty word that people don't want to hear. I'm trying to say that one real loud. Humility. I hope y'all heard it clearly. Humility. That's that nasty word that doesn't taste real good, but it's very cleansing for the soul. All right, I digress.
Hey, why'd you cuss me out? You just said humility.
And then just to add on to that, when we answer, we said we'll be whatever the lowest position is. And yes, I, speaking for myself, also came in as a whore. So I'm with Sister Sky on that. I would have been classified, you're a whore. You were impure. Wasn't good enough.
And I think that kind of adds into what Sister Melissa asked. Can a group of older women live together? And I'm not necessarily speaking about you, sister, But a lot of women kind of choose that, well, I ain't gonna be no servant, so I guess I'll just be single. And they don't understand that's pride. If I went to the y'all and said, well, since I can't be a bride, since I can't be Abraham, or since I can't be Elijah, or since I can't be Jeremiah, I'm just gonna go do my own thing. That's pride.
There it is.
We have to understand where our position is and tell ourselves the truth. Hey, I was a hoe. I served other gods. I served the god of basketball, the gods of pleasure, comfort, popularity, myself. I was a hoe. I don't deserve to be a wife, but you know what, Father? I'm coming to you at whatever position you want me in. And it's only by his love and his grace, the same way as men, we do the same thing. It's by his love and his grace that he chose to make me what I am today. Not because I deserve it, but because of his mercy. I sure hope it has something to do with my humility, that my willingness to say, Father, break me and make me how you see fit. I'm not coming to you telling you, well, I deserve to be a wife. I deserve to be a prophet, a shepherd, a pastor. I'm coming to him saying, whatever you want from me, you choose it. However you want to use me. I am your possession. Use me.
Hey, Brother
I'm
Chris.
just saying. Yes, sir.
My answer to that would be, hey, a group of other women can do whatever they want to do. A group of grandmas can live on whatever property they want to do if they want to, but not a group of Yah-fearing women. No.
Right.
Not a group of older women who profess to love Yah's ways above their own. Absolutely not. But a group of women can just do whatever they want to do. Again, you have to do. I'm not a woman, so I'm saying you in the sense to you asked the question, but I'm not. Well, you take it however you want to. I'm not meaning it as a personal attack to you. I'll put it that way. You can do whatever you want to do. You just have to be willing to deal with the consequences of it. You have to be willing to understand that at the end of the day, when you stand before your maker and your creator, did you live your life in accordance to his laws, his commands, his statutes, his right rulings, his judgments, or not? And as long as you're comfortable with the consequences of that, hey, you can live you can do whatever you want to do. If you want to live with a group of old women, cool, no problem. Just understand that that's not in keeping with God's word and his ways. That would be mine. In the same way that we as men can say, hey, I'm not going to subscribe to, being holy. I love stealing too much. I love warmongering too much, or whatever it is. I love coveting after other people's stuff too much. Whatever the thing may be. So I love that more than I love Yah, so therefore I'm not going to do it. Hey, we can choose that, but we just have to be understanding and comfortable with what follows when we meet our Maker at Judgment Day. And not only at Judgment Day, but when the consequences of reaping and sowing hit on this life. You can do whatever you want to do so long you're willing to endure the consequences. Our admonishment to you, though, would be just pick up this book, learn Yah's ways, and then die to ourselves and only do that, love that which Yah loves and hate what he hates. That would be my advice and my admonishment to you. And I can see nowhere in the Bible, no example of any group of women getting together and just living together.
Brother, that's the stone cold truth. I think we have to I don't think this, I know this. If you are Yah's, and yes, the sisters are coming back to changing diapers for the babies. That's why they're gone. I am not going to be on this stream. This is for them. But I really do believe that we have to get back to the Bible, not our feelings, not our emotions. You can do literally whatever you want to do. A bunch of old women, as Brother Andre said, can come together and do whatever they want. They should make sure to buy a large supply of cats and yarn or a pack of dogs or a pack of dogs too. Literally, this Bible, and you have Yah, you have Satan, you have choices. You can do whatever you want to in this world. And then there's Yah's way of doing things. And I think that's the bigger question. Are you doing it Yah's way or doing it your way? A woman literally can join a man's house, have sex with him, get pregnant, leave, and put him on child support. She can't do that, right? I mean, it's a bull crap, but can she do it?
Yep.
She has every right within her life to do. Oh my God, Sister Priscilla said, no golden girls in the Bible. Thank you for being a friend. We have to truly get back to what the Bible says. That's the issue. And I think that's what scares a lot of people away from the faith, is because they say, well, the Bible looks really strict, or the Bible looks really hard. It is. It's a narrow walk. It's not for everybody. So I think that's what you have to kind of figure out is this walk for you? Is it for you? If it's not for you, then you can do whatever you want to. But if it is for you, then Yah has already set his mandates for men, for women, for children. He tells you exactly who to obey in the book, who to submit to, who to reverence, who to be subservient to. It's all spelled out perfectly in the book. He tells you that if you're a single woman, get married. He tells you if you're under the age of 60, get married. People say, well, I'm too old. Cool. Then you're too old to get married. You can do whatever you want to. Do as thou wilt. But there is a payment for it. Are you willing to pay that or not? Yes, sir, Brother David. Yes, sir. So we're gonna draw this to a close. I just want to make sure that there's more questions. If there's any more questions, please feel free to ask them. Because this is the Shabbat. This is the Shabbat. His word is a lot. That's right. Can't say it's crowded. That's for sure.
Thank you for being a friend. Travel down the road and back again. For a pal and a confidant.
I know that's Brother Andre.
Woo, I heard FY over there singing. I said he didn't know something.
Yeah, the friend looking. Yeah.
Just being honest, I don't think that the brothers and sisters, our first way of living was not to come out of her. We got Brother Ronnie, Brother J. Carr, their wives, Brother Andre, Brother David, and myself. I don't think any of us was just like, man, I can't wait to come out of her. You read it in the Bible, and we were like, oh man, I'm willing to obey you, Father. I don't know of many women that are like, yes, I can't wait to submit. I've been living my life for 23, 25, 30 years. Man, I just can't wait to submit. But what happened? We came to the faith. We saw it. We read it. I had to come out. I didn't like that. Had to deal with it.
Yep.
Brother David K. Man, Brother David K., you want it, brother. It's an honor to have you here. He said you cannot filter the Bible through your upbringing or what you were taught in Sunday American church. Man. All right, he said, okay, Sister Melissa Boyer said, I was thinking more of taking care of older women who can't contribute. like an old folks home, not the Golden Girls. Oh, well, the old folks home is called a convalescent center. The Bible says that a woman who had one husband, who had raised children, who had done every good work and washed the saints' feet, they were to be taken care of by the church. So what happened to the ones that didn't do that thing? Y'all ever ask yourself that question? Was it 1 Timothy 5? I believe it is. What happened to the women who were over 60 who had been with 3, 4, 5 men? If you could only be with one man to be taken care of by the church, then what happened to those women who had been with multiple men? Does anybody want to have a guess?
I'll give the Cliff Notes. I don't think that y'all was expecting the congregation to take care of them.
Ooh.
In other words, there was once again this unpopular law of sowing and reaping.
Sowing and reaping. Just a question. Or I mean, I'm sure that many of these older women probably went to a man and were like, "I'll just serve you. I'll just serve you. Whatever you want, I'll serve you." Now, I don't know if we talked about this in our last stream, but I was asked the question: can a woman join a man's house? And brothers, this would be an interesting question for y'all to answer. Sisters, y'all as well, as I wait for mine to come back. Can a woman join a man's house just to help?
Sure, as long as that man said he was willing and accepted. Well, I mean, actually, just to help.
Just to help what?
No, you're joining the house to be a possession of that man. So you're joining for the sake of whatever he says you're gonna be used however he sees fit to use you if you're joining this house.
What are they supposed to be help doing? It sounds like they come in there with their own idea of what help is that is outside of what the Bible defines helps to be.
Yeah.
They tying his shoes or something, or helping him check the mailbox for money. What I mean, what are they actually doing?
You know, Brother Andre, I think a lot of times, and I don't think this sister asked it maliciously or wrong. I think a lot of people come to the faith and they just don't know. But I don't think that people understand help as far as the biblical context versus the westernized context.
Mm-hmm.
The biblical context of a woman helping a man was you joined his house and you submitted to him. So if that man said, "You know what? You're looking good today. Climb in bed." Guess what that meant? Help.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It didn't mean, well, I only came here to check the mail and mow the lawn. And, and then go to my house that is on the other side of the property.
I think you're onto something, brother. I think
it does not mean, brother Jay Carson said it doesn't mean. I was gonna say, Brother Jay Carr said it doesn't mean that she was doing her own agenda. I was gonna say, Brother Jay Carr said it doesn't mean she was doing her own agenda on your property.
Yes, sir. I think some parts that are missing that we don't quite get sometimes, and I say I'm gonna use this. Women don't really get it. Is that being uncovered or being on your own, even if it was the Golden Girls nursing home, that would have been a place where there would have been other nations that could have possibly taken those women and forced them into servanthood. That's the part that we just don't get. We don't get that it was like it would be highly unlikely that a woman would just be roaming around her on her own, and it knows. Because think about it: if you could take a woman as a war bride, if you in conflict with a nation, well, you don't need permission or any of this stuff. Can you imagine what would happen to a woman that was left to her own devices? It would be literally. Remember, their laws is different from here in America. See, here in America, you all free and stuff. You just call the police for everything. No, it was nations taking over whole nations. So if those women were having this nursing home or whatever they got going on, they would have normally either if we really start looking at it, they would have either been watched as prostitutes, or they would have been either covered by a man, or they could have been forcibly covered by a man if they chose not to return to their home of their father or their tribesmen. Think about it.
Yes, sir.
That's why those women in the book of Esther, they was happy. Even if they weren't going to be the queen, I bet you they were super excited to be in the house, the second house, the house of the concubines.
Man.
Because they were prepared for it. They were provided
Don't go there, brother. Don't go to the house of the concubines, because that's a whole, women like a house of concubines. What?
Oh man, we could, brother. We could now. This is stuff for y'all to look forward to, really, because we can burn the house down with this. Just in general, if you just think about it, women we here have so many rights, but a woman would look crazy if you said, "Well, this part of the home is for me. This other section has been divided up. It is a dormitory for my women. There's a section for my wives, and there's a section for my concubines, and there's a section for the servants or handmaids. Brother. And that's where y'all live. That's where you keep yourselves. Men and women weren't sharing beds and laying all up and doing all this other stuff that we think is normal.
Nope. Because you have to remember that Ahasuerus called for Vashti.
Hey, by name. Remember, if he don't call you by name, you ain't coming.
Man. That's why it was such a big deal when Esther said, I'm going to appear before the king. Because the king had not called her. And then he extended his scepter for Esther to touch. Esther did not appear under the authority of the king. And had he not extended it, Esther was dead. This westernized society has made it where, well, I'm just going to approach my master with every other business that I got. This is why we say people don't really want those old paths. Can you imagine being a woman and a man comes to you and says, hey, you know what? You know what? You can come to my house. I have a house back, on the side for women that belong to me. I ain't no man's property. Okay. Man. Kinda, but that's not truly what it is.
Hey, say, brother, we need more women like Naomi. How come Naomi didn't go? I'm just using this as an example. I don't have no problem with the question, because I know it's a lot of people, a lot of older women think like that. But how come Naomi didn't? She wasn't trying to look for convalescent homes or get a group of girls together. They rent an apartment. They shuffleboarding and catching trips on a cruise. How come we can't get some Naomi's in the house? Naomi said, I'm going back to my damn people. And normally when you ask a woman, well, can't you go back to your people? Oh, my people ain't in the faith. I can't go there. Nobody asked you that.
Right.
Nobody asked you with your people in the faith. But the thing is, even if they say it's not, it always comes off as rebellion. Oh, Lord. Can I get a witness?
Uh-oh. Hey, we about to start shouting over here, Brother Andre.
Oh, man. I'm going to leave it alone. I'm going to go ahead and let y'all go ahead.
It's outlet. Push it again. Now push the light on.
Woo!
Woo!
Did you push it in?
Push it in.
Push it in. It was just.
Woo! I'm about to bring out the Martin Luther King fan, and I'll be fanning.
Uh-oh.
Listen, stop.
Woo! Glory.
Get him in the house.
Oh man.
Sister Kathy said she about to run around the room.
Oh man. Let me stop.
I'm about to start speaking in tongues.
Running to the tithe and offerings table.
There you go. Sister Melissa, yes. Actually, we like to have fun while we discuss the word. And that's, I think that kind of goes to the root. If you're offended, is not everything needs to be offensive. I mean, just being honest. You should be able to ask a question and be able to laugh.
I laugh at myself all the time.
Right. I ask questions sometimes, and the birds give me answers, and I'd be busting up because I'd be like, dang, that was funny. Because funny things are funny. When people tell jokes, and I know I shouldn't be laughing, but that is funny. And we're not joking. We're giving you a biblical answer. So in reality, there shouldn't be an offense. If there is one. But the reality of it is that in the Bible, there are no convalescent centers for old women. They just weren't. Old women didn't get together and say, you know what? Well, I don't want to follow the Bible, so let's just all group together. Young women didn't do that either. Hey, we don't want to follow the Bible, so let's just create, a government entity called Section 8. Food stamps. They didn't do that. They said, if I don't get married, there's a high possibility that I'm either going to be a whore or die. That's just the Bible. And honestly, what that should do is that should offend you and prick you so much that you say, you know what? I'm going to follow the Bible. I'm going to prove that I'm his. The Bible does to me. I mean, it does. But David K said sometimes heavy topics require laughing to get through. Coping with truth is hard and funny if you don't take yourself too seriously. Right. It is.
Hey, brother.
Yes, sir.
Sister Key want to say something.
Yes, yes, sir.
I was gonna say, when we was going through whatever was going through at first, my mom was like, well, we could just grow old together and we can live in the same house and it would just be us together. And then just listening to her train of thought it kind of scared me in the sense to where she was like, come on over here to how I'm living. I don't answer to a man. I'm alone and we can do this together and we can make our own money and we can survive and all that other stuff. But instead of it being like a affirmation or it being something that I really wanted to do, it kind of scared me in a sense. And I was like, oh no, I'm not doing that. And then I mean, needless to say that she died of cancer or whatever, which I think kind of was for a purpose, but we're not gonna go into that. But that kind of scared me in the sense to where she was okay with that. I wasn't. I mean, I wasn't really okay with that. That kind of scared me. So as far as women being like in a convalescent home together and we just gonna do it all and we don't need a man and all that other stuff, that's not the right train of thought. And if you're thinking that way, you should be kind of pricked in your heart to be like that. That's not how it's supposed to be.
Man.
I don't know. It was just a little scary to me, and I was like, oh no, I'm not doing that.
Hey, brother. Now, what she talking about is this is when me and her spent 6 months apart. 6 months apart now. Because we had communication problems and just stuff. So I was like, eh. Oh, as a matter of fact, I went and stayed at a guy. A guy was gonna be out the country that I worked with, and he was like, he needed somebody to watch his house. I was like, cool. I remember coming home and telling Amy that too. I was like, I'm not gonna be available as much because I'm gonna be at David's house chilling. When I get off work, I'll be chilling. And I ain't let them stay the night either. I didn't let neither one of them niggas stay the night. They thought they was thinking back then, I bet you he got her over there. I bet you he got her over there. And I was like, I ain't got none of y'all over here. Nigga, I'm peaceful. I'll holler at you when I want to holler at you. When you get yourself together, and most importantly, when I get myself together, then maybe we can talk about some things. But during that time, now her mama, now this is the beginning of me and Amy's relationship. Now, her mama was like, yeah, just come over here and move over here with us. We don't need them niggas. We don't need that nigga. You can do this. She was setting up with, I'm talking about good jobs. I'm talking about jobs starting off at $25 an hour in our area. That's good money. $25 an hour plus shift differential. Hooking up with jobs like her mama was a sleep tech for like 30 years.
Man.
So her mama was hooking up with all kind of stuff, trying to pull her in that direction. And I remember Key called me one day. She said, I don't know about all this. She said, because I'm the type of guy like this. Even when I went in the faith, if we weren't working out right, I'd be like, you know what? You finna stay at your mama. But she was like, we got to have our own place. I was like, don't worry about it. I get it done. I get it done. Don't worry about it. But the thing is, she even felt something then to say, I ain't doing that. And guess what? It worked out very well. And when I say worked out very well, because I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go ahead and stomach my what is the word? My failures, my maybe some of my misleading or incorrect communication and all that kind of crap that went with that. And I say, you know what? This is how we gonna roll, period. I'm gonna be with both of y'all, and this is what my expectation is. Yeah, we gonna at that time I was like, we can stay in 2 separate houses, but they already knew this in their mind, because I told them, I said, you know what, even though we stand in 2 separate houses, well, I mean, after that 6 months or whatever, I told him, I said, really, we should all be down in one house because we can capture more money that we losing that's going out. And I told him, if I could do it all over again, we would probably be about 5 years ahead if I had the gumption back then, meaning, because I was the type of guy, I ran the house, but I looked at how my family felt about certain stuff, meaning I always wanted them to have more than I had, I guess. So I would cater to them a little bit, meaning if they want to do stuff, but I would just tell them, we 5 years behind because we blew money because I didn't make y'all conform to the word. That's being real. I was trying to please y'all and y'all at the same time, really. And it really don't work like that. So when I pulled it all together and put us out here on Shalom on one property, I didn't get no objections either, which is odd to me at the time. I was like, hold on a second. Y'all niggas ain't cutting up, because I was like, I just told them, I said, well, I love y'all, but it's kind of like this. Me and Sarah gonna go out there to the land, and we gonna live. I said, I'm gonna put a house out there. And I told him, I said, I'm put a house out there because I can afford to do it whether y'all on there or not. I used to talk shit. I'm like, whether you on there or not, I got it. I said, but if you want to be there, you can be there, but we just gotta roll. We gonna roll the way I'm rolling, and that's it. Or y'all can stay. I said, we'll give up the rental house, and y'all can stay at Forest Green, which is the house that had a mortgage on it. I said, y'all can stay there, but y'all two gonna stay there together by yourselves. They were looking like, we ain't finna be out here by ourselves. Them niggas were gone. So I say all that to say, I appreciate Keith saying that because I know her mama, at the moment I was looking at another woman, her mama was like, oh no, fuck that nigga. No, girl. You can just live here with me. I make a lot of money. You finna make a lot of money. And so all that kind of stuff. And I'm just so glad that she was like, I'm glad that she had the, something on the inside of her say, call Andre. Because, I mean, I don't know if she knew I could make the changes right then or not. But I remember I said, well, you don't probably need to be there with your mama because she be talking a little weird. I didn't really down her mama. Now, I knew her mama didn't like me. Now, I used to speak to some of her things her mama would say when I knew it wasn't right. Because she didn't really like no man to be like, Keisha's dad and her mother, they was like divorced for like 30 years or something crazy like that. And her mama was cool with being alone. I was like, who does that? So I was glad that Key had something on the inside of her saying, no, I need to do something different. So when she called and said, we need to do something different because living here with my mom is kind of strange because we was used to having our own place. So I'm just saying that if she could do something like that, all women should be thinking the same thing. Hey man, it's not good. The Bible says it's not good for a man to be alone. Well, who you think a man supposed to be with? Another man? No. No, that's why they made women. So we got to get back to that place as men and women. Brothers, if we walk this thing out, damn. You can have an awesome family even though you start all jacked up. I'm a living testimony of the Andre Davis show was fucked up. Bad. I'm being real. But now, shit. I mean, and like I said, if they wanted to leave, they can leave. But you can't get these folks to come away from it. You can't get them to stop messing with a brother or taking care of them or whatever.
For real.
And it ain't that I'm that great. It's that I'm following the Most High and they can see it.
That's right. Ooh, we having church.
Y'all was on the chain, boy. Oh Lord.
Oh, shoot. Hey, I'm gonna let these sisters sign off real quick, my brothers. We love y'all.
I love y'all too.
Shabbat shalom.
Brother Andre, that was fire.
Woo!
Thank you, my brother.
That's straight up true. Only thing I can say to that is
woo! Church.
Oh,
hey,
man.
Shabbat shalom. We love y'all. Rest well.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Rock Sisters HOQ, we love y'all. Shabbat shalom.
Love y'all. Shabbat shalom.
Love y'all too.
Yes.
We love you.
Shabbat shalom.
Brother Andre, that was fire, brother.
Hallelujah, brother. Man, I'm gonna be honest. I really hope somebody gets something from it. To be real, I'll let y'all sign off too. I really hope somebody get some from it. I mean, at first, I'm gonna be real, man. When I first started on polygyny, I used to be embarrassed to even talk about stuff like that because I remember even before polygyny, shit. I'm just gonna it's gonna hurt, but it's truth. I already know I was doo-doo because I actually committed adultery. I mean, biblical adultery or whatever. And I recovered from that, meaning it didn't cost me my family. It almost cost me my family, if you get what I'm saying. But I always, and I used to be real leery about talking about stuff like that. But if it'll help somebody else, man, if you're looking at the worst of the worst, So if I can do it, shit, it's a bunch of folks that can do it.
Man.
I mean, I'm talking about if I can serve y'all, you can serve y'all.
But it comes with that humble spirit you talking about right there, brother. You know, we ain't running and hiding from things. We standing up and saying, "Yep, I done messed up."
Yes, sir.
You could have a completely backwards way of thinking in this life, and Yah, if you humble yourself, can change that way of thinking.
Man,
all of us, every brother that you see in this chat, the brothers behind the scene, Brother Ronnie, Brother J Card, we all come from some sort of jacked up. The sisters, some sort of jacked up way of living, and yet here we all are, serving him, loving him, thankful. But it came with that humility of saying, man, we messed up. I don't ever go to the Father and say, Father, I ain't doing this. Father, you got an easier way for me to do it, because that way just don't sound too good to me. What I say is, Yah, what you got for me?
Yes, sir.
What you got? If I read that book and I say, you know what, the Bible says come out of her, guess what I'm doing? So if you can read that Bible and the Bible says being single is your reproach, women, being uncovered is your reproach, you have a question. Do you like your reproach? Because if you do, hey, if you can say, hey, I'm cool with my reproach, then aren't you cool, Brother Andre? If a woman says I'm cool with my reproach, aren't you cool?
Sure.
I'm cool too.
Yeah, they gotta walk that thing out. I mean, they're gonna have to live that. I mean, it's no different than you talk about a lot, the Numbers 30 thing. Hey, it's just like them vows. Hey,
Yeah.
if you say I'm good being single, I'm good doing my own thing, dying alone, or whatever it is you do, hey, live that out. Because that's what you have spoken over your life, and that's what you're actually doing by action. Your actions show that you're good with that. And I think the other thing too is, like, I wasn't good with being a sinner. I wasn't good with being having reproach. So I make haste to get out of that position. And I even talk like this to them, like, once we came into the faith, and like when I talk about the adultery thing, that was before the faith, but I still apply that same standard because it was adultery whether I was in the faith or not. If you get what I'm saying, I just think we should be holding ourselves to a higher standard, period. What we was comfortable with, I mean, we should be in a comfortable or a complacent type state anymore. We can't even progress. Like, y'all don't even expect that from us. He does not expect complacency. He expects forward motion. This faith is forward motion.
Man. So even if you had a backward thought, if y'all learned something from this stream, from the sisters, hopefully, it's a forward motion thing. You don't have to sit back and say, man, my way of thinking is jacked up and I'm just too old to change. I'm just too jacked up to change. I'm telling you, you're looking at people who were jacked up. We can all say we were hoes.
Yes, sir.
All of us.
Yes, sir.
So if you want to change, you got to read that book and say, you know what, Father? I understand I could do it my way, but this day I choose you and your ways.
Yes, sir.
And then you stand up and you start walking it out. And you know what? You may have to take some steps that you weren't used to taking. You have to walk that path that you weren't used to walking. Believe me, when I first came out here and I cut down my first tree, I ain't never cut down the first tree. I had never planted a garden in this soil. There's a lot of things that come into this land, coming out of her, that I had never done before. Ever done before. I mean, I have never held a chainsaw until I came to this land.
Ooh, man.
I ain't never set up solar until I came to this land.
Wow.
I ain't never built a house, owned chickens, owned goats, fed my own family with the work of my hands Until I
Man.
ain't never done 95% of the stuff that I've done until I got here.
Hallelujah. Man, bro, that's a testimony.
Which means you can do it too. You can say, you know what? Yeah, I'm this age or that age. And I ain't never done it before. But I gotta do it because I know that's where my salvation is.
Wow.
That's where my covering is. I have to obey.
Yes, sir.
That's it. Brother Andre, you ever had goats before? A cow?
No, no, sir. Not at all.
Ever?
No, not even chickens. They had never owned chickens either. None of that stuff.
You ever took down trees to plant a ton of potatoes?
No, sir.
Man. You ever been on what is that implement website?
Everything.com attachments or everythingattachments.com?
That one. You ever
No,
been on
sir.
that website before?
No, not even. Never even thought about it.
You ever spent the amount of finances on producing food like you are right now?
No, sir. Hey, it never had prepped anything. We just talked about that tonight. And before this, never had prepped anything. And really wasn't doing as much until really I met you. When I met you and Brother David, it opened up my mind on what could be done with the money that I made when I was when I was working full time. I was like, man, this is crazy. We could be saving hundreds of dollars and we could have food stacked to the rafters if we wanted to. Like my mind just my only thing I knew, man, was the city life BS. That's just being straight up.
That's what I'm saying. I was that dude that used to sag my pants with the red rag, the red bandana, the red shoelaces. We live in something completely different from us.
Yes, sir.
But you talk to Brother David, I guarantee you he ain't never milled no wood before. Guarantee you he wasn't sitting in the middle of a hood light, the hood light. Man, I want to mill some wood.
I was just gonna say you didn't have acres of gardens where you used to live at with your basketball court was next to your gardens in Cali.
I had a basketball court. I didn't have no garden. So it's possible to change, but it's going to cost you. It's going to cost you a way of thinking, a way of feeling. Everything about you is going to be different when you're done.
Yes, sir.
You will truly be transformed by the renewing of your mind.
Yes, sir.
How about the sisters? Y'all ever imagine yourselves living this life? Growing food. Did you ever sit back and say, man, when I'm going to be this age, I'm going to be in polygyny?
No.
We're gonna have goats and chickens and a cow, and we're gonna produce our own food.
No way.
Oh, so this is a complete shock then.
Oh yeah, hey, they was used to the grocery store, bro. Only if the grocery store ain't got it, we didn't have it.
How did y'all feel when Brother Andre was like, we're gonna grow our own food? All of it. As much as we can. How'd y'all feel?
Well, Master always talked about having people on the land or servants, way back in the day. And I'd be like, oh, okay. Now, I can really see how that would be beneficial. But as far as the goats and the animals and things, I could kind of see it because his grandmother, she had like a farm. So I could kind of see that. But I mean, if you look at the other children minus Sarah, it'd be like, what? Y'all got goats? Y'all got a cow? Y'all gonna kill the cow for me? What? Yeah. I mean, I really appreciate, his vision and just looking ahead of things to come. Now my hope is that the other children will come along, but they kind of like they'll come along after everything kind of shit hits the fan. Then they'll be like, "Oh, we going to mama and dad's house," and things like that. But they'll have to see it first. But I appreciate the fact that he is able to look past all of that and prepare, for what's to come, even though they couldn't see it.
Hallelujah. I see Sister Robinique said, no, I didn't. Brother Ronnie, you trying to tell me that when you were like, we're going to grow some food, she was just like, I love what you do for me, Toyota. She didn't do that?
When I told her we thinking about moving out, she's on board with it.
She's on board with it? Wow. I mean, Tanisha was on board with it. I guess I have to. Can you explain what on board with it means?
She didn't give me no talk back about that I was crazy or anything like that.
Woo!
She told me that she was willing to follow my vision that I had planned for my family.
Man. Now, when she first got with you.
Oh, no.
Now, can you imagine if you told her, like, hey, can you imagine if he had told you way back when y'all first started talking, like, hey, babe, we about to move to the Ozarks and live this sort of lifestyle?
I would have thought he was crazy.
She said she would have thought he was crazy. Like, man, you are kind of cute, but not that cute. What about you, Sister Jaylee?
Well, when we were met in Bible school when we were dating, he actually broke up with me because he wanted to move to the mountains and just serve Yah, like alone by himself. And he's always, I mean, we got back together because then he was talking about how Paul and Berta was lust.
Yeah.
But I don't know, because he's been talking for a long time about wanting to walk an Old Testament life and faith, and I think I didn't know how it was going to work. I probably thought he was crazy though for parts of it.
See, Sister Jaylee said that she thought she was excited, but she still thought that Brother J. Carr might have had a couple loose screws. And that's kind of how it is. You look at the people in the Bible, I'm sure that a lot of other people looked at them like, there's something wrong with that dude. He a little bit off. He can't be all there. But then when the vision starts enacting, and I think that's the problem, is that too many people want to see, there you go. Too many people want to see the end game without walking it out. Women want to know that it's going to be a great marriage before they get in it. He's going to be the best man in the world. But I ain't gotten there yet. He ain't taught me yet. Man. Brother Andre, let's draw this thing to a close, brother. What you got? Close it out.
This gonna sound bad, brother. I'm all tapped out now.
Woo!
I think we done killed it. I mean, as far as the information we delivering is truth or whatever. Sorry, the light went out. But the information is true. I mean, it is honest, and I hope that the women today was able to hear from my ribs and understand that they just giving it just straight as can be, meaning unfiltered. Like I can just say, my ribs is asking me a couple questions, because sometimes they get nervous or whatever. And I said, man, just talk about the different. Like I might throw them a little, you know, a little clue and say, just talk about how you feel about this, that, or the third, or whatever. But after a while, they start rocking and rolling a little bit. Now I'm gonna just say this: they had them a little something to drink. Now they be out there, they be making me laugh, man. They like, oh, because I think I heard Amy say, "Oh man, it's the countdown." I said, "What you mean the countdown? It's only 5:30." She said, "In an hour and a half, we gotta be ready." I said, "Oh man, I said we do this all day, every day. It's easy." And they was like, "But y'all like doing it." Yeah, we like doing it, but we just be ourselves. It's like talking to one another. That's all it is. But I think overall, man, I mean, the main thing is people serving Yah. That's the main thing. I mean, that's what it really is. Everything we doing is serving Yah. It just is other things that come with it in the progress. You know, I came to Yah and started learning the laws, learning his ways and doing it. And then next thing you know, hey, what about land? Your own land. Hey, what about animal husbandry? Hey, what about growing your own food? What about extending your family? All that kind of stuff. It comes as you go. But now if we as men ain't doing nothing, then what are we I mean, why would y'all extend our family? Why would he have more stewardship for us? I mean, we're here to give women, watch this gonna hurt. We're here to give women purpose. We're here to give children purpose, sons and daughters purpose.
Man.
That purpose comes through our vision, our leadership, our guiding. So I think overall, man, that's what we've been talking about this week has been on point from the start of the feast days all the way through, man. We just showing them our lives. We just letting them peer into our lives. And I just pray they get something from it.
Hallelujah. We are not going to have a live stream, which y'all know is Saturday night. We will be back first day night, Sunday night with a stream on brotherhood, and we can also say sisterhood. You may hear some behind the scenes comments from the wives, and then second day night will be a simple question Q&A.
Hallelujah.
We'll take the questions, answers from for us, the brothers, the wives. You know, obviously respectful questions and answers. So get your questions together if you got some. I know the emails have been going off. They've been going off as I've been watching. People have been emailing questions, so we'll bring those up on a second day night. We hope y'all have a blessed Shabbat. We hope you're enjoying the stream. Even though we couldn't be together the way we wanted to, we also want to make sure that we were still together.
Yes, sir.
That we brought y'all along for these feasts. You know, we know a lot of people look forward to these feast days because you like seeing us together and everything. We still together.
Yes, sir.
We still together.
100%.
I hope y'all bless Shabbat.
Yes, sir. Love you, brother. Shabbat shalom.
We love y'all. Shabbat shalom. You do it. There you go. There you go. No, you can do it either. There you go. No.